flow of things. So let's ensure that the Facebook Live is starting. Hello, YouTube. And then we will start the TikTok Live. Just waiting for the live feed to come in on Facebook. So we're live on YouTube. Waiting for the live feed to come in on Facebook. Come on, Facebook. Don't hold us back. Don't let us down. Don't go changing. Come on. Connect streaming software to go live. We've connected the streaming software, baby. Come on. Okay. Connecting. Thank goodness. Oh, what's up with that? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So we've connected and we're just going live now on Facebook. I don't know. Okay. Perfect. All systems are a go on Facebook, and now we can launch the TikTok Live. How's everyone doing? I hope everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook is doing good. Someone told me that they want me to tell them when they go live. I'm going to be live every day, so just come on my page at any given time, and you'll be able to either watch lives as they happen, or you can watch them back because they'll be uploaded on YouTube and on Facebook. And I'm going to start clipping everything up, so you'll see the clips as well. Okay, so we're about to go live on TikTok, guys. Perfect. We are live, so we're live now. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and we'll see if we can't get some guest debaters to come up. Hope everyone's doing well today. Yeah, what's the real cause of the UK's issues? I was just in a live about this topic, actually. What's up, Koon Goshad? I was just in a live about this topic, and I figured, like, I might as well make my own live, because this topic often gets monopolized by people who want to talk about race, they want to talk about immigration, and I feel like we are better than that. And I'm not saying that immigration and race can't be issues. I'm just saying I feel like we can go deeper into the real cause of the UK's issues, and I want a proper educated discussion. We can talk about immigration, we can talk about race and whatever. What's up, Tanella DeVille? What's up, Spencer? What's up, Wes? What's up, Katie? What's up, Milord IFFY? What's up, Beardy Man? What's up, Ross? What's up, DJ Misfit? What's up, Haley J? What's up, Arman Riaz? Thank you for joining the live, guys. Remember to tap the screen to like the live. If you're from the UK, I'm sure you want to chime in, and I suggest you request to join the live now, because I anticipate that there'll be a lot of people that want to come on and say what they think are the real cause of the issues in the UK. So thank you for liking the live, Beardy Man. Appreciate it. The live viewers are obviously going to fluctuate, but eventually I think we will plateau at a decent amount of viewers. So hopefully we can get a good discussion going. As people will know, we are live on Facebook and YouTube as well. So TikTok, if you want to watch us on YouTube, you can go on at State of Deception, all one phrase. And if you want to watch me on Facebook, then you can just type my name in, which is Ama, AMA, space MADUAKO. So Haley J, thank you for liking the live. Alana, thank you, guys. We want to get the likes to around 1k before we start letting guests on. I know it takes some time, but if you guys can all boost us by giving us 100 likes, that'd be great. So someone said Islam. Brian says England not being devolved with the other three. Explain that. I would like you to break that down a little bit more. I don't know what you mean by devolved with the other three. Islam. So it's funny how people say Islam is the main issue, because like, if you look at the UK's demographics, isn't it like 4% Muslim? How can 4% of the people be really the cause of the issues in an entire country? The country would have to be significantly destabilized, already for 4% of the people to have that significant of an effect on the country. No devolved government. I know what you mean by that. Adam Duran, it's the Islam people. Again, extreme minority of the population. That's a lazy narrative. Skint says, can I come up and discuss? You can. We're just trying to get the live to 1K likes to give it some momentum, especially because we're live on other platforms. So I don't want to just have a slow discussion. I want a discussion that's fruitful, that it attracts people. So we want the live numbers to go up, which means we need more likes to get the live numbers to go up. We've got 17 people in the live. Thank you for liking the live, guys. For everyone that has liked, just tap the screen to like the live. ZZ says the juice are the problem for every issue in every country. Again, I get when you're talking about, let's just say, juice billionaires that fund things, but again, wouldn't a country have to be significantly morally destabilized in order for a minority of people to exploit them in that way? Why is it that the people don't fight back against the influence of the people funding negative things in their country? Because I'm of the opinion that if you really look at it, you'll find that a lot of the things that are bad for the country, people support them. Like a lot of the issues in the UK, if you did a poll of the population, the country will be very divided on it. Whether it's trans rights, Islam, immigration, taxes, the country will be very divided. And so I wonder if the division and the fact that the country is already destabilized makes it easier for it to be exploited by other, foreign agendas. User 762 says you keep lagging. I don't think I'm lagging, mate. I mean, are you watching me on TikTok? I'm assuming you are. I've got 900 megabytes per second on my Wi-Fi. I don't think I'm lagging. Built Different says the actual problem is the government with a corrupt agenda and they're successfully dividing us. I like that. I agree with that. Paul Goodman says the UN Agenda 2030, most UN countries are following. Yeah, I see that. Again, everyone's saying Islam, Islam, Islam. Noxy, the white people of the UK want every other colour and nationality out of the UK. Again, I don't think that the majority of people actually want that. I think it's a minority of people that actually want non-whites out of the country. That's just my opinion, though. I could be wrong. 18 years of conservative government. What did the Tories do that's significantly different from what Labour are doing? You're not lagging. Yeah, I'm fairly certain I'm not lagging. Now, if someone said I was lagging on YouTube or Facebook, then I'd be like, okay, 1080p stream, bandwidth, depending on the bandwidth being used in, But yeah, I highly doubt I'm lagging on TikTok. Okay, should we get some guests on? I think we should. Skints has been waiting patiently. What's up, Skints? Hello, mate.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Alright, I just wanted to come up and just quickly just discuss, the title of the live, if that's alright.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the people that are the cause of the UK. Like everyone, like the general public, everyone that lives here. Because, when we have these elections and stuff, I know it's every 4 years or whatever, but our votes matter. And some people don't choose to vote. Which ultimately, obviously, I'm not saying every, because if it's just one or two people not voting, then it's calm. But when you've got thousands of people not voting, when it could really make a difference on who we get in power, it's a bit of a piss take, if you get what I'm trying to say.
And who do you propose that they vote for? What party do you believe has proposed good solutions to the issues in the UK?
None of them. I can't lie.
So why should the people vote if you acknowledge that no party is providing sufficient issues to solve the problems in the UK?
Isn't there an option to abstain your vote?
Sure, but I'm saying you're asking people to vote. What do you want them to vote for?
Vote until there was,
or who?
There's an actual party that, has a manifesto that will actually help the UK. Does that make sense, or am I tripping?
No, I get what you're saying. People should engage in the democratic process if it can be relied upon. But you're saying people should vote. Who should they vote for? If everybody votes, but they vote.
It's too cooked now, man. There's no one in power. There's no political party that lines up with anything that would actually help us out. It all just seems to be getting shit. I mean, I would say Green Party, but like barely nobody votes for Green Party.
Green
It's kind
Party?
of Green Party, bro.
How do you think the Green Party would solve the UK's issues?
I don't know, but like I can't lie. If I had free bus travel, I'd be traveling all around the UK, fam.
Are you like 16 or something?
Nah, I'm 18.
Why are you worried about free bus travel?
Oh, it makes a difference, man. Don't you see the what's it called, the fucking cost of living crisis, man? Like, if I want to get to work, I'm gonna be ending up spending like I don't know, like
Brother,
20,
save your
30
money
quid.
and get a car. You're worried about you're worried about free bus
Save my
travel.
money and get a car, but
You're a grown
there's
man.
literally no jobs that offer full time. I'm doing part time
Tell
work. Bro.
exactly, Hannah. That's a good point. Tell us some Green Party policies.
Green Party.
Yeah,
Okay, bus travel. Legalize weed, innit?
bruh.
No, I'm being serious, bro. Deep it, man. You know all these little stuff. You know, no. You know all
You
the
are
little stuff you're
18,
laughing
but
about?
you do think like a 15, 16-year-old. I'm gonna be honest.
Nah, but my view. Are you saying that my opinion doesn't matter?
It does matter, but I think it's a naive opinion that's not well formulated. But that's just my perspective. I could be wrong. But you know, if you're talking about the main issues in the UK that you want solved being free bus travel and people being allowed to smoke weed, I mean,
No,
weed is
deep-
already decriminalized. So how would
No,
legalizing
deep
it? So
Don't you think if everyone had free bus travel and we were allowed to smoke weed, don't you think the UK would be a better place?
no, I think it would
Nobody
be a far
mad
worse place.
with free bus travel.
Yeah, it would be a far worse place.
Why? How?
Because you got to remember that whenever something's free, everybody becomes dependent on it. And when everybody becomes dependent on something, it decreases in quality. And also, if everybody was walking around in a drug-addled state, high off of marijuana, that would also cause other mental health externalities in the country and more people to be dependent on mental health services. Because in my opinion, marijuana influences people's mental state long-term in a negative way. Some say it causes psychosis, and I wouldn't make such a definitive statement, but I think it has a negative long-term effect on people's mental health. And in
What if
addition,
it's used
irrespective of
short-term?
that, why would you want, you know, most people don't smoke marijuana. Why would you want, you know, everyone walking around high off of marijuana? You know, what about people driving cars and going to work? You want somebody working in the civil service or for the police high off of marijuana?
No, obviously, you know how there's medicated marijuana?
Right.
Something like that, fam. Something like that, where like, you know, if you've got like, you know, some people have arthritis and stuff like that.
But they,
Or even I've heard with Tourette syndrome, some people with Tourette syndrome become calmer when having marijuana.
But they can get medical marijuana if they need it for a particular medical condition. I'm not saying that that shouldn't be available, but I'm saying, how does that solve the issues in the UK by... I mean, do you think that weed should be used more widespread? Is that what you're suggesting?
Nah, I think we should gatekeep it. Nah, but I think you're right, man. I think I'm kind of tripping on this whole convo.
I think I'm right
don't
as
think
well.
No, but can I just say one thing? Can I say one actual thing
Yes.
about the issue of the UK?
Yes.
Can I just say one thing that I think is valid, yeah?
Sure.
At the end of the day, I feel like there's a lot of hate in the UK right now. Like, everyone literally feels divided.
I agree.
And that's not going to help anyone. I feel like the people that have, you know, the same views as other people, and it shouldn't matter about the color of your skin. Like, people are talking about, you know, Islam, black people, white people. You know, we're much stronger all together as a nation if we all collectively come together.
I
and don't
agree.
use the
I agree.
people.
But Islam is not actually about the color of people's skin. Islam is about an ideology, by the way. Just letting you know.
No, I know it's not a color of a skin. I know it's, you know, like a fucking like religion, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that people are blaming, you know, they'll blame black people for, you know, like, oh, you know, black people are committing this amount of crimes. I mean, they'll be like, oh, but like the white people, they're holding all these EDL protests, yeah. And then with Islam, people will be like, oh, Islam is the root of all evil, or it's, you know, they're spreading around like, you know, this ideology and it's wrong. And like, that's the kind of shit that's going to tear us apart.
I get you. You want an idealistic kumbaya future where everybody gets along. By the way, there are no EDL marches, just to make you aware of that.
That's not feasible. That's not feasible. That has to be good and bad. Like, you know, you're never going to eradicate everyone, you know, having different opinions. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if more like-minded people come together, don't you think you could overturn the government or nah?
Yeah, my proposition, which I'm gonna float actually, and I want to know what people think about this, is I think that the UK needs a new constitution. So I think it needs a formal constitution that's inalienable, similar to how the United States has, and I think it should enshrine certain rights that are inalienable, like freedom of speech, etc. And I think that will go a long way to preventing the government infringing on basic civil liberties. I also think freedom of association, as Loxity just said about segregation, I think freedom of association should also be an enshrined right, meaning that you don't have to live in a multicultural place if you don't want to. You don't have to hide. I think the Equality Act should be repealed. So there's a lot of acts other than to protect vulnerable people. And I don't believe that simply being a racial minority makes you inherently vulnerable. But yeah, I think that if we had a new Bill of Rights, I think that would go a long way to long-term solving a lot of the issues in the UK. I also think we should bring back the death penalty. I think that politicians who are, I think the police should have dedicated police forces that tackle corruption within the government and corruption within the health service and public sector. And I think that if you're found guilty of misfeasance in public office, that there should be a death sentence for that.
Wait, you believe in the death penalty?
Yes.
What? Bro, what is your reasoning for that?
Because I think that I have a decent understanding of human nature, and I think that certain people are so evil that if they don't believe that they will be taken off the earth, then they will continue to do evil things until the general public suffer so significantly that we are in a situation where we're in now, where there's so much corruption, there's so much dissent being fomented, and evil people are behind this. And I don't believe that they should. I think that we should kill them, honestly. And I mean legally, like, don't ban me TikTok. But I think that, yeah, I genuinely think that they should get the death penalty. And I think if people commit heinous crimes, and this is my criteria for the heinous crimes, death penalty, I think if there's CCTV evidence and DNA evidence and an admission, then I think that they should get the they should get the death penalty.
Okay, I can't even
for like
serious
grapes or murders, yeah.
And only if they have, like, there's basically multiple forms of DNA and traces.
Yeah, I think it should be a very high threshold. So I think there should be an admission, DNA, and or CCTV. It should be very high threshold to stop people being wrongfully executed. But if somebody admits it and there's DNA evidence, let's say that somebody commits a grape, there's DNA evidence, but they say, I'm innocent. Well, that might be more difficult to, because we don't know if they were framed or whatever. But if they're admitting it, and there's DNA evidence, or they're admitting it, and there's CCTV evidence, then what's the, why should they just be in prison? Like, I don't understand. I think that, yeah, I think they should get the death penalty. 904 says, hold on. 904 says you aren't British and never will be. Why are you speaking about our country? Well, I'm in the unfortunate position of being a descendant. I think I'm my third generation immigrant. So I'm in the so-called unfortunate position of otherwise being a stateless, rootless cosmopolitan, but for my allegiance to some nation statehood. Thereby, I consider myself British. Now, I don't consider myself English because I'm not ethnically English. But if I'm not British, are you saying I'm Nigerian? Because I also have no Nigerian nation statehood. So I'm, according to you, just a stateless individual, but for me aligning with the concept of being a British citizen. Sorry, go on, Skins. Last thoughts, because we got some other people that want to come on.
No. I'll go. But right. Thank you for talking to me.
All right, no worries.
Thank you.
Someone said British Nigerian. Well, remember, Nigeria is a nation state that was created after my ethnicity was even in that land region. So I have no reason to align with the concept of being Nigerian because I don't have Nigerian citizenship. I've never been there, and Nigeria was created after my ethnicity was already in that land. So I'm Igbo. My ethnicity is Igbo, but I'm not Nigerian, if that makes sense. It wouldn't make sense for me to... Now, I say I'm Nigerian just to not be annoying, but, like, technically speaking, yeah. So anyway, Lou4 says, take back Britain, stand with Sophie. Who's Sophie? We've got 74 people in the live, guys. Tap the screen to like the live. We're getting some rookie numbers on the likes. We need to boost ourselves in the algorithm. So press the most important buttons in the live, which are the share button and also the follow button. I think this is a good conversation that we're about to have. We're live on YouTube at State of Deception, all one phrase, and we're live on Facebook. Amma Maduako is my name. Amma, AMA, and space MADUAKO. Thank you, Michelle, for the heart me. Appreciate it. Thank you, Blake, me, for the likes. ZW Flies, let's see what you got to say, mate.
Hi, mate. How are you doing today?
Yes, I'm good.
Good, good. Just sorry, I'm pressed for time, but I want to ask. You said we should have the death penalty for those who admit to the crime.
It
Do you
depends on the
realise
crime,
problem
yeah.
with that? Do you realise the problem with that?
What's the problem?
One will plead guilty to any crime because they'll just get executed. Why would you disincentivize admitting to the crime?
No, no, no. I'm saying if there's other forms of evidence. So if they say somebody commits a heinous crime, like they grape a little girl, and they admit to it, and there's DNA evidence, then I think they should get the death penalty.
Well, you know, but that doesn't matter. You're saying that if they admit to it, you know, I'm sure there's other evidence, but if they admit to it, we should give them the death penalty. But if they don't admit to it, we shouldn't. You're just going to disincentivize them admitting to crime.
No, because there are many criminals that confess, even though if they
Right.
know they're going to get the death penalty. There's no evidence to suggest that people wouldn't. And if they don't confess, then perhaps the threshold is too high to give them the death penalty. I think it should be a very high threshold if you're going to...
So you think we should only give the death penalty if they admit to the crime?
Yeah. If they admit
So
and there's
then
strong
why would
evidence.
anyone admit to the crime?
Because some people would rather die than spend the rest of their life in prison. And I think we should...
Oh, so you think the death penalty is preferable? So then what's the point of the deterrence if it's the preferable option?
Because why should we all pay for them for the rest of their life and have
Your
them
logic
take up the
isn't
prison
making any
system when
sense,
they
by
can
the
just
way.
die?
So, you know, like in the US, for example, or like in most countries, the death penalty, they only give the death penalty to people who refuse to admit the crime, but the evidence is incontrovertible. The idea of executing them if they admit to it, but not if they don't, is completely ludicrous.
How is it ludicrous?
Because, okay, say I commit a very heinous crime.
Yeah.
The evidence is overwhelming. But the judge says, if you admit to it, we'll execute you. But if you don't, we won't. Then only people who are suicidal would then admit to the crime. Only people who want to
So,
die would
okay,
admit to
and
the
those
crime.
people should
So
get the
you're
death
giving-
penalty.
You're giving the criminal the better way out either.
But they're
with
still...
either
But
option.
no. It's more severe than the current state of how it is now, because they would spend the rest of their life in prison. I'm adding on another outcome, which is they can also get the death penalty for heinous crimes. So it's either keep it exactly as it is now or make it more severe. And what I'm suggesting is making it more severe for the people that admit it. So there will be more people who get the death penalty, because right now there isn't a death penalty. And if they admit to it and there's DNA evidence, then why should they not?
So you're basically, the aim of your argument is to have more people executed, regardless of whether they want it or not. You're just going to
Wait,
disincentivize
what?
people
No,
who
I
admit
literally
to the
just
crime.
said they would have to admit to it, and they would have to be significant other forms of evidence like CCTV or DNA. So how is that,
Well,
whether they want it or
obviously,
not?
if they admit to the crime, then there's really no need for the other evidence. And I get what you're saying. When someone pleads
There
guilty,
is
they
need
don't
for the
go
other
through
evidence,
trial.
because some
You reckon
people,
someone
like
pleads
you already
guilty-
said, some people admit to crimes that they didn't commit. So there needs to be some other corroborating evidence.
Okay, of course, because then if they say they didn't want to get executed, they admit to the crime. They say they admit to the crime, they didn't want to get executed. They can then appeal and say, actually, my confession was under duress or whatever.
Right.
But the fact you're saying is like, okay, incontrovertible evidence. You definitely murdered this baby. Or you
Yeah.
definitely did whatever. Yeah. You're saying that, okay, the judge is basically going to say to the person, okay, you could admit to your crime and, apologize to the family. So you could, if you admit to your crime, we're going to kill you. But if you continue to deny it, then you'll just spend the rest of your life in prison. Now,
Yeah.
90% of people don't want to die, so they won't admit to the
That's
crime.
fine,
So
but
you'll
10%
never
of
have
them,
closure for this
10% of
family.
them will get killed.
Only the ones that admit to it. You're disincentivizing telling the truth.
How? Whether they tell the truth or not, if they get found guilty, they're going to spend the rest of their life in prison.
Are you joking right now?
Dude, you're not that sharp, are you? If they don't admit to it, they're still going to spend their life in prison.
Yes.
If they get found guilty, yeah.
They'd
So I'm
rather-
saying
most people
either
would
your
rather
life
spend
in
their life
prison or you
than
get executed. Like, how is that difficult for you to understand?
I understand your point. It doesn't make any sense because most criminals don't want to get executed.
It doesn't
the
matter.
whole
Some
point.
of them will want to get executed. Some of them will admit it. It doesn't matter
we
whether they want it
execute
or
the
not. Some of them
criminals
will
that
want
to be
it.
executed.
Huh?
And we execute the criminals that want to be executed. And we
Yes.
don't execute the criminals that do.
You execute the criminals that admit to the things that they've done if they committed a heinous crime.
So your process is not the death penalty for heinous crimes. Your process is just euthanasia for those who would like it in prison.
No, not necessarily. It's the death penalty for heinous crime, but the threshold being high enough that people who have just done a false confession for whatever reason don't get killed. If there is, okay, think about this, right? Someone's in prison for 5 years, right? They've committed a rape of a child, right? They're in prison for, or let's say someone does something heinous, they get a life sentence, right? And they're like, oh, I didn't do it, and they're in prison. But there's DNA evidence, there's CCTV evidence, there's multiple witnesses. You can see the person's, been suffered for their whole life, the victim. And then 5 years in, they say, do you know what, I actually did do it. You're saying that that person shouldn't be executed. Are you against the death penalty on that on an ideological basis, or what? Like, why should they not be executed if they say...
My point is, so I'm in principle against the death penalty. But
so that's why, really.
No, if we were to have a death penalty, why would we have a death penalty for people who admit to the crime and not those who are clearly lying beyond all evidence?
You could have it for the people that are clearly lying beyond all evidence, but I'm saying the threshold needs to be seriously high. So even if you're going to say, yeah, if someone's lying, those people could still be executed as well. But I'm saying definitely if they admit it and there's DNA, then they should definitely be executed. But yeah, so let's concede to your point. Some of them, if they're lying and they're caught on CCTV and there's DNA, then yeah. But maybe let's say you need like 2 of 3. So let's say you got confession, DNA, and CCTV. If you got 2 out of the 3, then yeah.
Okay, so that's basically how it works in most countries. I can agree.
But we don't have the death penalty in
I
the
agree
UK.
with the point. Listen, I'm not going to argue about death penalty. I wasn't here. I just got, basically, I was a bit confused at your point that we would execute only people that admit to the crime. Now you're saying, okay, not only people that admit the crime, but also people who are lying, but it's very obvious that they're lying.
I've made the point numerous times that it's not necessarily about the exact threshold that's used. I'm saying the threshold needs to be significantly high. So whatever, someone would need to, or some panel would need to work out the exact way that the threshold needs to be high to stop people who have been wrongfully convicted from being given the death penalty. But I think that there's definitely a category of people that there is basically no doubt at all that they committed a crime, and I think those people should be executed if they've committed a heinous crime.
I can agree with that. I just don't agree with the point of executing only the ones who admit it. But fair enough.
Okay.
However, I would go against your point in that the whole point of the criminal justice system is that if someone is found guilty, they are found guilty beyond all reasonable doubt. So that in most other countries, they don't do the death penalty like based on the level of evidence that there is. It's basically on the seriousness of the crime, and if you are found guilty. So what you're saying is that basically we should have death penalty for those who 100% committed the crime, but life in prison for those who did like 90% chance committed the crime.
Yeah, because I think killing someone...
how the justice system works.
Yeah, because I think killing someone is worse than giving them the death penalty, because the death penalty is not necessarily it's worse in quality of a punishment, but it's because it's such a final and irreversible thing. Someone can get life in prison, but then have it reverse and they be exonerated. But if you kill them, then there's no coming back from that. So I think the threshold for the death penalty needs to be much higher than the threshold for life in prison.
I agree with that, but there would be a massive reform of the justice system in terms of what we consider to be beyond all reasonable doubt. If you commit a crime and there's a 70% chance that you committed it, and this is not how justice works, obviously, you actually can't get convicted on a 70% chance because it is beyond all reasonable doubt. And
well, the percentage likelihood doesn't even come into it at all. It's more, again, beyond reasonable doubt is actually, and it's really more about the opinion of the jury. But again, so we got the threshold of beyond reasonable doubt, and then above that would be the threshold for the death penalty. So it would be it wouldn't be the jury deciding whether the person gets the death penalty anyway. Maybe we would need like another panel to make the decision about if the person's eligible for the death penalty. But irrespective of that, the main point is for crimes where there is sufficient evidence that the person committed the crime, or if they've admitted it, and there's sufficient evidence, then I think that they should get the death penalty. And I think we're belaboring the point because you've already said that you are opposed to the death penalty. So, that we're just at a stalemate in terms of you believing no death penalty is inherently wrong.
I'd like to ask you a point about that, okay, if we're going to argue about the death penalty itself. My opposition to the death penalty comes from a distrust of the government as a whole.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you are someone who distrusts the government, and that's fine. Most people should be skeptical of the government. We should always question authority.
Yeah.
But why can you not trust the government, but you do trust the government enough to end people's lives. That is an extremely powerful
Yeah.
power to give an institution.
That's a great criticism, and I think that's why I'm making the point about the threshold that would be needed for a person to get the death penalty. And ultimately, the government is supposed to be serving the people. The justice system is supposed to be serving people. We are in a position where, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be serving the people to the extent that it should be. But let's say if we had an ideal society where the government was actually acting in the interest of the people, then yeah, I think the death penalty will be part of that. And the problem is that currently we have too many policies that are not in the interest of the people, and I think that the death penalty is in the interest of the people. So it's not necessarily I'm saying that the state should not have the power to do certain things. I'm saying the state should have the power to do things that are actually to the benefit of the people. Now, if the state were to have the power to give the death penalty to anyone, then I think that would be wrong. But if the state has the power to give the death penalty to people who are clearly beyond a threshold whereby they know, we all know they've done it, it's on video or whatever, then I think that they should get the death penalty. And I know that that is a power that the state has that seems to be extreme, but I think that would be in the interest of the people, and the state should be doing what's in the interest of the people.
In terms of how it's in the interest of the people,
Yeah.
is it because you think it is an appropriate punishment for those who commit crime, or a deterrent for those who might future commit crimes? What's your reasoning for the death penalty?
It's
A deterrent or punishment?
it's more because they are essentially a drain on the system. It's because I think it's just a more efficient solution than keeping someone locked in a cell for their whole life. And also, it could serve as a deterrent. I don't know necessarily if that can be proven that it does. It could serve as a deterrent. But also, I don't think that the public wants people like that. I don't think the public wants to be paying for people like that to survive. I think it also. I also look at it almost from a natural kind of perspective of like, that is what we want to do to people that kill children. So I think the law should reflect natural justice. If someone killed your child, you'd want them dead.
I'm sympathetic to the point. Like, I do understand that, when you look at, say, child, people who hurt children, and you think, like, oh my God, it would just be so much easier to kill them. Like, why are these people alive? They're so horrible. I do understand it. I just think it's a relatively, and I know slippery slope is a logical fallacy, but I do think giving that power to the government is a slippery slope. And I think that it is worth it to just keep them in prison for the rest of time, rather than give the government such a sacred power to have to end the lives of human beings. Because at the end of the day, that is the ultimate violence, and that is the ultimate power that you can give anyone.
Okay, so what do you, let's kind of pivot a little bit. So what do you think that the real cause of the UK's issues are? Because we talked a lot about the death penalty.
It's extremely multifaceted. I think, ignoring the social side of things, the economic side of things, the UK is in an unfortunate position where the average voter simultaneously wants better public services and lower taxes, which is not fundamentally possible right now. You can't name a country on the planet, other than the Gulf states or like Norway, that has a lower tax rate and better public services than the UK. It doesn't exist. France, the average tax rate for someone earning 50k is double that of the UK. And it's the same in most of Europe. So we're in this position where we're like near to the American side of things, where we have lower taxes than the rest of Europe, but worse public services in most aspects. But the people want lower taxes, but they also want the NHS to be amazing. And so the only option is to borrow more money. And that's how we've ended up in this serious debt crisis that we're currently in. So I think the average UK voter needs to understand that they're going to have to sacrifice something. They're either going to have to pay more tax, or they're going to have some serious cuts to public services. And I think austerity was terrible, and austerity has gone too far. And I genuinely, like, this is going to sound ludicrous, but I'm genuinely in favour in raising taxes to an extent.
Jesus.
Whether that's on... Sorry?
No, go on.
Yeah. So I know that, there's guys like Gary Stevenson who advocate taxing wealth and things like that.
That guy sucks.
I think there's an
so
argument to be made for that. But then again, you're going to disincentivize investment in the UK. You can't tax high earners anymore, like the upper middle class, because, if you're earning like 200k in this country, your effective tax rate is about 50%, which is insane. So the only option left is to tax people like earning less than 50k.
Jesus.
Now, Labour promised Yeah, the Labour promised we're not going to tax working people, and I think it is immoral to tax working people. But there is genuinely people don't realise how bad the fiscal situation in this country is. And a lot of people say, oh, we can just be more efficient with the government. The government, like, I know people who work in the civil service. I know people who work. They are genuinely trying to get every last penny out of everything. Government services have been cut massively under austerity, and there is wastage. And there was the welfare reform bill last year that Labour tried to put in, and their own MPs rebelled. That was actually quite necessary.
Have
The UK has
government
the
services
largest
government services really been cut, or is there more dependence on government services?
So it's both. So in real terms,
Because they
a
haven't
lot of
actually been
government
cut,
services
have they?
have
They
been
usually
cut.
receive increased funding.
They get increases, but not in line with inflation. And
Right.
this is true.
But that's not
So,
the same as
at the end
cutting
of
government funding, is it?
It is effectively cutting.
It's just
If you
making it.
freeze
It just
funding for
becomes
something
more
and then you have
expensive.
inflation,
But everything,
I mean,
most
yeah.
things haven't increased in line with inflation. So it's not like they're being
Yes,
cut
no,
in terms of getting a smaller percentage of the government pie, so to speak. It's just that everything's more expensive.
Well, with the increase in defence spending, a lot of things are going down. So defence has gone up a lot, and I'm not.
But did
against
defense
increasing
go up
defence
during
spending.
austerity?
No, defence got cut massively during austerity.
That's what I'm saying. So they're not. The things aren't
Yeah.
actually being cut. Then it's kind of wrong to say that they're being cut. They're not being cut. It's just that everything is getting more expensive because of inflation, but they're still getting the same percentage, if not more of a percentage of the actual government pie.
Well, you have to think. Okay, so the UK GDP has grown since austerity started, yet everything has been cut. And it has grown larger than inflation. We do have economic growth in this country. So where is that money gone? Because the average person is not feeling it in their pockets. And that's why you can be sympathetic to the arguments of Gary Stevenson, in that the rich in the UK have gotten a lot richer. When I say the rich, I don't mean people earning 200, 300K. I'm talking people who have hundreds of millions in wealth, billions in wealth, people who own large amounts of land. And I am in favour of a land value tax, by the way, taxing the value of the land to encourage development on the land. Not necessarily what's on the land, but the land itself. But the fact is the economy has grown, but as you said, government services are not grown in line with inflation. People's wages have not grown in line with inflation. So where's the money gone? It has gone to the richest. But it's hard to tackle that without the rich then leaving and then not having investment in the country. So the problem is I don't think people truly grasp the actual economics of the economic state that the UK is in. As people will revert to more simplistic arguments, about, oh, if we get rid of the small boats, people will save money and we can spend it on other things.
Yeah.
The small boats cost the UK like $3 to $4 billion a year. That's not going to save the economy.
Yeah, I totally
In fact,
agree with
the
everything you
increase-
just said.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think that there's an expectation that we have because we are basically spoiled, as citizens. We live in a first world country and we expect now things from the state because we've all grown up in a society where the state gives people handouts. And I'm not saying it's wrong to get handouts from the state. I'm saying if you create a scenario where people can get handouts from the state, then everybody's going to want handouts from the state and they will come to expect it. And then, like you say,
100%.
like what you said, people are expecting something, but then they don't want their taxes to go up. So, yeah, I definitely agree with everything you just said.
100%. I mean, because I was talking about the Labour reform, the welfare reform bill. So basically, Starmer wanted to cut, I think it was about 8 billion from welfare. And a lot of that was from people who were receiving benefits for mental health illnesses. And listen, I know a lot of people are dealing with some serious mental health issues, and it's a problem that needs to be tackled. But we have the largest amount of people as a percentage of our population on the planet out of work due to mental health issues. And you can't convince me that sitting at home, doing nothing, just receiving money from the government is going to improve your mental health in any way. And unfortunately, certain parts of the Labour Party then revolted and the bill didn't pass. And now Rachel Reeves is going to have to raise taxes in the next budget to make up for that potential saving that was lost.
Yeah, it seems like Labour's got kind of a schism going on in their party. Do you think they will last until the next election? Do you think, Starmer will last as the leader of Labour until the next election?
I don't know if Starmer will last. I think he's been given a very, very difficult situation, and I think he's not managed it perfectly by any means. I think the Labour communications team is terrible. Like, they don't present their policies or arguments in a way that people will easily understand. Most people just read the headlines. Do I think Starmer will make it? I don't know. Andy Burnham could take over, and I think if Andy Burnham became Prime Minister, he's at least more popular than Starmer. He's more charismatic. But in the end, politics is a popularity contest. Nigel Farage will probably win the next election because he's very good at shouting at the sidelines.
Do you actually think Farage will win?
I don't want him to, but I think he will. I mean, the polls are pretty clear cut. I mean,
seems like there'll be some kind of coalition, though.
Yeah, you could see a Reform Tory coalition. You could see, if the centre and the left decide to get their act together and understand that Farage is a bigger threat than their petty differences, then you could maybe see a Green, Lib Dem, Labour coalition, which, by the way, would be absolutely insane.
That would be insane.
They would not agree on
unprecedented.
Anything other than,
do you think you mentioned a Tory Reform coalition, but I think the Tories may even be less popular than Labour. So, are you saying that you consider the Tories to be somewhat of a dark horse?
No. I mean that, say, Reform might be like 20 seats short, and they might be able to do a coalition with the Tories.
Oh, you're saying they will elect to do a coalition? Okay. I thought you were suggesting that they would get the second. They'll be the second most popular. Okay,
it's definitely between Labour and Reform. I think Zach Polanski and the Greens, he's a charismatic guy, but just like the Green Party always says, the policies are ludicrous. And then you've got the Corbyn Party, which fundamentally doesn't work because they don't actually agree on anything.
Yeah, aren't they already having issues with, what's that name?
Yeah.
What's that woman's name? The Asian
woman? Zara Sultana.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know what will happen. I think it's literally just between Labour and Reform, and it's whether Labour can compromise with the other parties on the left and in the centre to be able to maybe, I don't know, work together in the next election. Don't challenge each other's seats and things like that.
Okay, I think you raised some pretty good points there. I do disagree about the death penalty, but you were pretty coherent. I mean, you did actually get me to concede on the death penalty point to an extent, so well done to you. And yeah, I agreed with everything else you said, so fair play to you. All right, I'm going to drop you down because we've got some other people waiting to come up. Nice speaking to you, mate.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, no, he's done well there. I did kind of disagree with the incentives because I think people that commit heinous crimes, a lot of them, like, they will die if they get the option to die. Like, they will elect to die. They're not super opposed to the idea of death. They don't reason like normal people. But yeah, I'm sure there will be a percentage of people that say, well, I'd rather live my life in prison than die. What's up, Funky Flower?
Flower. Hiya. Oh, I'll just turn you up a bit. I can't hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Excellent. Okay, where do you want to start?
I mean, where do you want to start? You know, the question is, what's the real cause of the UK's issues?
Okay, can I just start about the tax thing, right?
Sure.
I'm already paying £600 a month, right, in tax.
Yeah.
I've got a decent wage. I work from home. It's only me and my dog now since the kids are left. But I struggle every month, right? So if you put my tax up, I don't want that to happen. But if the government said to me, if we could add an extra £2 a month on your tax, we would be able to provide this, this and this, then yes, I would agree. But to just keep taxing the working class people, I don't think is fair. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, I think the previous caller's point was that this seems to be the problem, is that we don't necessarily want our taxes increased, but then simultaneously we want better public services. So he was just saying that he thinks necessarily if we want better public services, probably the number one option would be to increase taxes. I don't think anybody wants taxes to increase. He's just saying it may be a necessary evil.
But not if we tax. So I just feel that some of the rich, and I mean super rich in this country, have got our government over a barrel. They continue to stay in this country and benefit for free. And the government don't do anything because they're afraid they're going to leave. Well, maybe we've got to start taking some of that on the chin so the wider communities and stuff take us more seriously.
So you believe in taxes on the rich? I think that is a very popular policy nowadays, is wealth taxes on the rich. Is that what you would advocate for as well?
Well, okay, so yeah, taxes on the rich, but also things like Starbucks. They don't pay any taxes to us. Neither do Amazon. What the hell is going on there?
I mean, I'm sure they do pay taxes in some form, just not in the form that maybe they pay payroll
Not to the
taxes,
level
right?
they should be, right? Not to the level they should be. Now, whether Keir Starmer or whoever he is getting free gifts off Amazon, maybe, you know, whatever. But we need to think about what's going on in our own country and do things. I know it's a hard decision, right? It is a hard decision because you're not just, as a government, you're not just working for one group of people, right? You are responsible for all. So I get that they have to make these decisions. But do you think the government has wasted any money? In this last year since Labour have been in, do you think there's been some spending that we could have done without spending?
So do I think there's spending that could have been done without what?
No. Do you think there's been spending done that in reality we could have not spent money on that?
Oh, I mean, inevitably, yeah, there will be a lot of things that there's a lot of wastage, I think, in terms of government expenditure. That seems to me to be one of the major issues. I just did want to address your point about Amazon not paying taxes. It says here, this is Amazon UK. It says that their total tax contribution for 2020, what is it, 2024 is this, was more than 5.8 billion. So they do pay
Well, they've
taxes.
started now. They didn't used to, so that's a relief.
I think they've
are.
always paid taxes. I think people misrepresent whether big corporations are paying taxes by suggesting that if they're not paying a certain type of tax, they kind of reframe their the tax contributions in such a way as to make it seem that they're not paying tax, but they are paying taxes. And if they left the country, it would be a significant blow to the country.
A mistake on my part then. That was obviously me getting it wrong.
Common misconception.
Okay. The prisons I wanted to talk to you about and this thing. So I've worked in male prisons for 5 years, right? And I've worked with all sorts of people, from schmex offenders to P3DOs to guys that are in there on drug offences and all sorts of things, okay?
Right.
Now, my issue with the death penalty is I see it from a different point. I wouldn't want to give them a get out of jail free card, if you like, right? Because some of these men, particularly if it's crimes against children and stuff like that, they know when they go into that prison, they're going to have a really hard time, right? Because those prisoners don't let it lie. So it would be a way of avoiding things like that. And I don't think we should do that.
What about if they did a term in prison and then got executed?
Well, like a death row?
Yeah.
Now, I'd like that idea more.
Thanks for the gift,
because
Patois.
on a psychological level, right, that's going to make their time in prison really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They're never going to know when that day is coming. But do you think then that to unalive someone for unaliving someone is really the way to go?
It depends. I think for the more serious cases, yeah.
So when you're talking about more serious cases, then is that crimes against children?
Yeah, crimes against children, seriously. I don't think we should do it for like manslaughters, for example. But like, if it's a serious against a child or a vulnerable person that that wasn't there was no justification for it, or homicide involving sexual violence or something like that, then yeah, I feel like I'm willing to compromise on how it's implemented, but I think ultimately, whether it's after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years of a prison sentence, whether we have to establish whatever the mechanism we use to establish a high threshold, once that threshold is passed, that evidence threshold is passed, and if that person has served a certain time in prison, then yeah, execute them after that.
Okay.
Why release them back into society or keep them
Exactly.
in prison until they die? What's the purpose?
Well, you would only be able to implement a death penalty if the sentence was life.
Yes.
Right? So let me give you this example, just food for
Yeah.
thought, right? When I worked in a prison, which is Smacks Offenders Prison, I worked with a group of P3DOs. There was 20 of them. But in this group, there were two lads, yeah, who were in their late 20s. Now, absolutely, they should have been in there for the crimes that they committed. But when I sat with them and really looked into their story, their sole purpose for being born in the first place was to be born straight into a paedophile ring, right? So they had known no difference.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that doesn't make it right, right? So I see them in a different way. I see hope that we could fix them with the right amount of support, as opposed to somebody else where no matter what you do, they're never going to change.
Yeah,
you
but
treat
have
them-
they committed a serious offence against a child, like child rape or child M?
They've abused a child,
As in they've raped a child?
possibly.
Throw him in the wood chipper.
Possibly.
Why? You know, I'm sure, you know, you can have empathy for someone and still believe that their death is for the greater good of society. Throw him in the wood chipper.
If there's hope, with the right treatment, we can change them. Right?
I'm not talking about like the statutory rape, like an 18-year-old committing statutory rape against a 15-year-old. I'm talking about if you are committing child rape of like a prepubescent or even early teens girl, like or boy, like what, you know, you can have empathy for the person if you're saying, oh, they were born into a certain ring or something. But what do you honestly believe that person should be released back into society?
No. But what I would like to do is have the opportunity and that say work with them really closely in intense therapy for the next 5 years and see if it is actually possible
At the expense of the taxpayer. And then that most of them have a high recidivism rate. Most of them come out and reoffend.
Yeah, there's a chance they're
Yeah.
going to do that. They will, yeah. I mean, I can't go to, yeah, it's 100%.
I honestly think, and I know you probably work closer with these kind of people. I've never worked with or known a person that's been a P3DO, right? But I'm of the opinion that they probably are quite manipulative people that know how to present themselves as victims. And the concept of abusing a child in that way is so foreign to me that I just don't see any redemption. And I think as soon as a person crosses that mental threshold, I don't see redemption for that human being. You know, take it up with God. Like, you know, after your 10 years in prison waiting your death penalty, take it up with Jesus Christ or whoever you believe in, or Allah. You know, let them take it up with that, with their spiritual.
You said that. I'm really glad you said that, right? Because here's the difference. You can't control what happens to you as a child. But once you reach adulthood, you need to make your own choices. Those two lads, irrespective of how they started off, knew that crime was wrong. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's also strange because there's so many people that get abused as a child that they don't become abusers. So I don't even think that it's necessarily because they were abused as a child. You got people that are abused as a child and they decide to dedicate their lives to helping children. Why would somebody go, I was abused as a child, therefore I'm going to abuse more children? Like, and I think this is the thing. I feel like we're too empathetic and lenient. We've created a society where it's provided, you know, a lot of freedom in general for people, you know, a lot of amenities. And I think now we're in like a post-scarcity society where we come up with all these fuddy-duddy ideas about, you know, this person deserves this and this person has a right to that. And I'm just like, at what point do we start saying, guys, natural justice matters? These people, like, for the good of society, because the thing is, in an ideal world, yes, everybody gets redemption and stuff, but we're now in a position where the UK is in a slow economic decline. There's a lot of social issues. There's almost, I would even argue, we're on the verge of social cataclysm. I'm not saying that, you know, everything's going to explode. I'm not that pessimistic, but I definitely think that the decline of the UK will be a sustained and continuous decline. And that means that necessarily people will have worse social care services, worse health service. They will experience more financial hardship. And when you have a situation in society where the general public, people who are essentially innocent, for lack of a better word, are struggling, why are we now providing public resources to people that are actual belligerents who are causing harm to people in society?
Yeah, look, I've been on this planet for 50 years, right? I've lived in this country. Well, I'm Welsh, right? I've paid my taxes probably at least the last 35 years, and I've seen many changes. But I can honestly, hand on my heart, say I have never felt, I think scared's too strong a word, but concerned than what I feel right now in our country, right? I, the blatant divide is just wild to me, right? I don't know what our government thinks we are, like we're robots, yeah? Um, it, it's just a mess. Um, and there's a multitude, it is a multifaceted thing. Um, but I think what needs to happen as a group of British people, whether you're Muslim, Christian, atheist, whatever, right? If you are, Britain's a multi-diverse country. It always has been, right? So let's just put that under the table. This whole white Britain thing, get out of here, right? So as communities, we need to come together.
I mean, historically, you got to also, just to play devil's advocate, historically, it has been a white Britain. I mean, you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, there was a metric, there was a statistic that I heard that was like the amount of immigration in the past 10, 20 years is more than the previous 1,100 years combined. So
Second World War, right?
So essentially, it is a white Britain. You know what I mean? For the most part.
Okay. But here's the thing: after Second World War, we brought people over from the Caribbean, people over from India, and together with the British people, we all built Britain back up.
Yeah, but you're talking about a very small. You're talking about like 80 years out of the 1,000-year history of Britain. So for all intents and purposes, for the majority of Britain's history, it's been a white country, or European, should I say?
Well, it's been diverse in look, I'm because I've had my DNA and everything done, I'm 100% Celtic, right? Which I'm really glad of. But it's always been a mix of people in this, particularly in England, right, where we've had Saxons, all these different people coming over.
Yeah, but even sorry to interrupt you, but even after Windrush, you're talking about like 1% of the population. The people that rebuilt Britain were primarily white British.
I don't know. It depends on where you are and what they were doing, right? So I lived in Cardiff,
Okay.
and I grew up on a massive council estate, and it was multi-diverse, right? And it was never questioned. I don't know. And I know not all of Britain is like that. But do you accept that even if Britain is still predominantly white, we are a multi-diverse society?
I think now Britain is a diverse society, but I don't think that that's the historical standard for Britain. And I think it's disingenuous to act as though it is.
Okay, so then if that's the belief, either we start with a clean slate, be clear about who we are and what we stand for and move forward, or try and revert it back to being predominantly white.
I mean, you have a lot of people now. It's a lot more socially acceptable for people to believe in concepts like remigration, and for people to want to, essentially reverse the mass immigration experiment as they see it. But I personally think that whatever solution is implemented to so-called save Britain, there needs to be some recognition that yes, it's now somewhat multi-ethnic. Yes, it's now somewhat diverse. But I don't think that precludes the country from actually remigrating or shipping people back. And if honestly, if there was some kind of palatable remigration effort, I wouldn't even necessarily be opposed to it, even though I'm like sort of a third generation immigrant, because ultimately I believe in the people's right to self-determination. And if a group of people says this is how we want our country to be, and this is the vast majority of the people, then they should be able to have their country the way that they want to have it.
You're British.
Yeah, I am British.
Born here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have as much say as I do.
Yes. But think about it.
Right,
Okay, let me ask you a question. If everybody votes for a law that says, digital ID, let's say 90% of people say they want digital ID, and you don't want digital ID, are you saying that what you want should take precedent over what the rest of the population wants?
No.
Exactly. So if there's a law where everybody says we want Britain to we want a mass remigration, and 90% of people want it, but 10% of people don't. Do you think that 10% of people should be allowed to stay? Excuse me. Do you think the 10% of people should have their interests represented, or do you think the 90% of people should have their interests represented?
So when you're talking about mass migration, are you talking about all the people that have come over, whether illegal or right? And
I'm saying a belief in democracy means that you can't really be a hypocrite. You can't say I believe in the will of the people being executed, but then when the will of the people is not favorable to you, then all of a sudden you wanna change it. Now, if again, I believe there should be a new UK Bill of Rights. So if there's, if a British citizen has the right to stay and live in the country, which essentially I'd say they should, then yeah, obviously then I'd have an inalienable rights. I'm just kind of speaking hypothetically about the concept of remigration and how even if it wasn't necessarily a favourable concept to me and my progeny, it doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing for Britain, because you can look at the history of Britain and you can clearly see that mass migration, the population didn't want it, it's caused significant issues in the society, even if you just talk about from a population density standpoint, and something needs to be done to fix it. And if what needs to be done to fix it and the will of the people is such that a lot of people have to be deported, then that may be a necessary evil.
I don't see what I think needs to happen is maybe we just stop letting people in at the moment, right?
Yes.
Press the pause button. It's not saying that we'll never help you in the future, but we're in shit and we just keep adding to it, right? And then it's almost like this sense of running around like headless chickens. Where do we start? What do we do? It's just mental, right?
Yeah.
I think we all need to be willing to make compromise. I think the government needs to have more transparency. Is there a way? I know we got the public records, but and even going as far as saying to the government, look, we need to see where the money's going each year. We need to see. And I think to some degree, have a say on where that money goes.
But the thing is, British people are quite tolerant people. I honestly believe that if there were millions of people deported and there was still a significant population of so-called non-whites in the country, I actually think if it meant that the country became better, I honestly don't believe that English people are one of the more so-called racist peoples. I think they're actually one of the least racist people. So I don't think it's actually primarily about race. But I think people can make things about race more when they see their country's in a mess, because they're kind of looking for a scapegoat. But if the country wasn't in a mess and people still felt like their heritage was being respected, then I don't necessarily think that there would be as racially charged discussions as we're having now.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And I think this is just the way that I see it, right? I've always been working class. And I just feel at the moment that the working class people of this country are being demonised, right? They're being silenced, they're being far-right racist, all this stuff, right? And yet we're giving voices, it seems, to everyone else. And this is the time again where we come together, and not in that knobhead Tony Robinson's way, but in our way, right? Collectively, and make sure that this is one of the things I loved about Thingy Kirk, was having those two-way conversations. We need more of those in society. We need to meet people where they are and try and understand why they feel the way that they do. Right?
I agree.
And then we can bring it.
I agree, but I do still think that difficult decisions may need to be made irrespective of what certain people want. But really nice speaking to you. We've got a lot of people waiting to join on the live, so I'm gonna drop you down.
Lovely. It's lovely speaking to you.
All right,
Thank
nice speaking.
you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I think if I had to characterize Funky Flower, I'd say she's generally a person that wants to be empathetic and consider the perspective of different people, whether they're from this place, that place. Because she said she works with CSA offenders. You guys are gonna have to figure out what that is because TikTok. But yeah, I do think that it is somewhat, and this is not to be disrespectful, it is somewhat naive to think that we can solve problems in a country and have everybody's viewpoint represented, because unfortunately a lot of people's views are diametrically opposed to one another's, and that's where heritage comes in. Heritage tells you what a country is supposed to be like, what the principles of the country are supposed to be, and in reality the principles of the UK I think are quite obvious. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech. I mean, these are the concepts that the UK and the common law system brought to the world. People having the right to a fair trial. All of these concepts are fundamental, in my opinion, to how Britain is supposed to run. So once you see that we're significantly deviating from these principles, it's quite obvious that something needs to change, irrespective of what a person's personal concept of how the UK should be is. Realistically, it's quite obvious why, you know, the common law system was how it was. It's to try to provide more freedom for people, and you do have people, in my opinion, that are they are a threat to people's freedom because they believe they don't believe in people being free and being able to do what they want. And I would say that that's primarily the political left that has these positions. Okay, Home the Sovereign. I'm going to try and keep people on. I'm not sure if people are going to be able to join because I know a lot of people have been waiting a while. I'm trying to see who's able to connect on. No, okay, let's just see. Logical Analyst. Logical Analyst, are you there? I'm hoping that you live up to your name.
I like that. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm decent, mate.
Good. So the topic is, what's the real cause of the UK issue?
Yeah.
I'll say it's the government, basically. The things the British people are complaining about, the government can easily stop it, but they're allowing it, because they are there to govern the people. They're voted there to look at the interests of the people. So yeah, this is my main answer. But of course, there's other things as well that can play part.
What things are you referring to that the people want that the government is not correcting?
Like immigration, housing crisis, homeless people, homeless British citizens, the NHS. Yeah, pretty much everything really. The government can easily sort these things out.
You think the government can easily fix the homelessness crisis, the issues with the NHS?
Absolutely.
How so?
Because there's many places that are not inhabited, yeah, and there's many empty places the government can build and place these people in. And of course, the refugee crisis, the refugees coming in, they don't have to take all of them in that are having the issues. I do get the refugees are suffering in war. I do get that. But what I'm saying is they don't necessarily have to take every single one of them and forget about the British people. It has to be balanced. It has to be balanced.
Okay. But do you think that, I mean, I kind of want to maybe touch less on the asylum issue because I think that is actually quite a small facet of the overall issues facing the UK. So when you talk about housing in the NHS, it doesn't seem to me like those are easy issues to fix. You could theoretically house people in, I guess, empty accommodation, but then that may involve violating the rights of property owners. Or, I mean, can you explain a bit more how you propose to house people in vacant households?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, those places that are empty, that are vacant, yeah, why don't they just work with the owners and make a deal? If it is empty, make a deal with them and rebuild the house. They don't necessarily have to take it by force, but they can make a deal with the owners and refurbish the housing, make it good, and accommodate the homeless people and stuff like that. Because if the place is empty, I'm sure the owners wouldn't mind to work with the government to give them some money while they house these people in. I'm sure they wouldn't mind that. So why are they not doing this?
Possibly, but that would still be at significant cost to the government. I know that, but there's many people in the UK that have worked all their lives up to the 50, 60, and then they're homeless. They paid the tax and all that stuff. Then you think it'll be good as well for the government as well to look after them, It's quite silly, and we spend a lot of our money abroad being involved in war. Why can't we use those ones and help the people here, Yeah, I would agree with you, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but I think the homelessness crisis is probably, or the housing crisis is probably, even if they did that, I still think there'd be a significant number of people that are dependent on government housing. Remember, like, a lot of the vacant houses, they wouldn't necessarily be in a person's local area, or they wouldn't necessarily be houses that are fit for a council house resident or something like that, in terms of having certain amenities. Or so I don't know if that would solve the problem. It could, I don't know, but to me it seems more complex. I mean, how many people have we got? Let's see if we can get some statistics about the housing crisis in the UK, because I've heard that it's the worst housing crisis in history. So it says UK, the supply of the housing hasn't kept up with demand. Okay. Social housing provided by councils and housing associations is becoming increasingly scarce. The number of social rented homes fell by 120,000 between 2012 and 2016, taking the total number of social. Okay. So it says that they're losing social housing. Okay. Only 23,000 new social homes were bought between 2015 and 2016. So basically, it seems that they're not building new homes to keep up with the additional demand. Isn't that a problem that could potentially be solved by reducing the demand for housing, by deporting loads of people?
Yeah, I do agree with you. I did say that before, that there's plenty empty spaces the government could build. They don't necessarily have to concentrate on the places that are not inhabited places. So there's empty places where they can build housing, because the government has made so many promises to build more extra houses, yet they are not doing it, which tells you there's spaces there for them to build more houses.
I personally think, right, that the number one issue in the UK is the population density. I don't think many people realize. So listen to this, guys. The UK is the 21st most populated country in the world, and has a population density of 285 people per square kilometer. So, population density wise, is that by population, or is it? No, I think it's even higher in population density. Let's see countries by population density. Because my basic position is that the UK wasn't built for this number of people. So it doesn't matter what you do to solve any of the problems. Ultimately, there's too many people in the country. It's not built for that many people. So let's see where UK is. So in population density. So if we do countries by population density, so the UK is 48th by population density. But remember, a lot of these countries are sort of like small islands: Macau, Monaco, Singapore, which is essentially a city-state, Maldives, Bermuda, Palestine, Jersey, Guernsey, Taiwan. Like, you're talking about very, very small islands for most of these. So I basically think that, and if you look at, of Western countries, the UK is the most population dense Western country. Obviously, India, everybody knows India has a crazy population density. But yeah, Aruba, St. Martin, like literally like 20 of these are tiny islands. So you're talking about the UK being essentially one of the most population dense countries in the world. And for a country of its land area, it is essentially one of the most population dense countries in the world. I mean, you're talking about the UK is more population dense than Nigeria. So again, do you guys really think that the UK was built to have this many people in the country, and then this many people dependent on social welfare systems?
I did also say that the immigration should be looked into as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that immigration people should be allowed to come in like that. I think it has to be controlled. But the problem is the government keeps making excuses and saying that they keep making promises saying that they're going to stop it. But they can't stop it. The reason why they can't stop it is because the UK is in demand of work in many places, especially the NHS. And the British people are not doing these jobs, unfortunately, like the care work sectors, where many foreigners work in these places. So it's not easy as that. If British people want foreign numbers to go down, they have to also do these jobs as well.
But they would do the jobs if there was more job availability. Like, realistically, if you disincentivize foreigners from coming to work within the NHS, then necessarily the jobs would get filled by British people. It's not like they're like, I just don't want a job. Like, they would do the jobs if there was less competition with foreign labour.
No, bro, there is 90,000 NHS job vacancies across England. I believe 90,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, check it up. I'm sure.
So you're saying that there are jobs available, but people don't want to do them?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But I thought that the whole argument about the NHS is that there's all of these that there's what's it called? So you're saying, so when you say the job vacancies, are you saying that these are jobs that already exist that people aren't filling?
Exactly. That's my
Oh,
point.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I get
my
you.
point.
I get you. I
Yeah.
get you.
Sorry. It's not actually. It's around 35,000. Yeah. Sorry, 35,000
Okay,
job vacancies. Yeah. That is still that's still a lot.
I
That's
see
still a
what you're
lot.
saying. NHS is currently facing significant staff shortages. Says the NHS vacancy rate was 8.4%, equating to approximately 121,000 full-time equivalent roles that were unfulfilled. More recent data shows specific improvement for registered nurses, with the vacancy rate falling to 6%. So yeah, you're kind of right about this. It's a significant number of job vacancies. So you're saying that this is incentivizing people to come from abroad to work in the system, and that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
so many people are coming over.
Myself, myself, I've seen so many government making deals with foreigners to come into this country and fill in jobs because of the kind of job I do. I've seen so many of them, government bringing them to fill in the job gaps. If not, trust me, the NHS is going to collapse. Trust me,
What?
because even if they keep bringing in foreigners, there's still staff shortages. That's how significant it is to bring in people to fill in the gap. You know, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I totally get what you're saying, and I'm open-minded to what you're saying as well. I just think, like, so do you honestly think that the UK is actually completely dependent on foreign labour?
Not all of it, but it's a massive percentage. Yeah, that let's say all foreigners leave the UK. Honestly, bro, it's not gonna be good. Trust me. If like I live in majority white area in the UK. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the location, but I live in the majority white area. The hospitals that I go to are at least 50% or at least 30% foreigners
Yeah.
working in those places.
But
That tells you alone in demand of workers the NHS need.
just to play devil's advocate though, right? When they're characterizing the vacancy rate, are they? I'm sure they're also including people that are like between jobs, right? So just because a position is vacant doesn't necessarily mean that they're not maxing out the capacity of available jobs. It could be that the job role is temporarily vacant. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, I
So
get what you're
so
saying.
so do you not think so? Just as a simple question to you, do you not think that, let's just say hypothetically all of the foreigners were deported, like everyone whose skin tone is darker than a cup of tea, right, gets deported, right? Are you honestly saying you don't think that UK citizens would fill the remaining jobs? Because presumably there would be so many other effects on the economy from that, like probably wages would increase, there'd be decreased demand on public services. I think generally reducing the number of people in the country, especially the number of dependents, would create a lot more incentives for a person to get a job like that. And I think the positions probably would get filled.
You know what? I'm sorry to say this. The kind of jobs in the NHS, mental health hospitals, some British people they call it SHIT because of what goes through in the stuff. They call it SHIT. So it discourages them. Obviously, there's many British people that English people that do this kind of jobs, but because of how demanding of patients and care on all these things, a lot of them are not willing to do it. Unfortunately, that's why the foreigners fill it in because they think, like for instance, you go to like places where they pick where the Polish people, Eastern Europeans pick things like the farming places and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is also filled in by foreigners, bro. You know, so the British people will rather do things like office job or things like building, electrician. Most of them, obviously, some of them do these things, but the foreigners fill in these things. That's why the government keeps bringing them constantly. Before even foreigners started coming into this country, That's why they brought in so many foreigners to fill in these places. Even if you kick out all the foreigners, they will not do it. Most of them wouldn't do this job because they see it as shit.
So do you think that the people that want, let's say, a policy like remigration or a lot of people to be deported from the country, do you think that they are misguided? What do you think their motivation is for wanting less foreigners in the country? Do you think it's just racism?
I, I think that they have been, yeah, misled by some of the media and stuff like that. And I think some British people, if they go to the hospitals, like let's say if they're sick, unwell, yeah, and they see foreigners and they treat them like that, they they change their mind. You won't know until you are in that situation. Because a lot of them don't know that the NHS and the other places are basically supported by foreign immigration. So yes, the basically not being made aware of, that's the problem. Because look at the doctors, yeah, the doctors in this country, yeah, most of them are foreigners. It's hard to see an English doctor, bro. And I live in majority white area.
It says
You know,
it says as of September 2023, 1 in 5 NHS staff were non-UK nationals. So about 20% of the workforce. Says this figure includes a record 18.7% staff with a known nationality reporting a non-British one. So I'd say you're effectively right in the sense that if 20% are non-UK nationals, then for all we know, there could be another 15 to 20% that are, second generation immigrants or whatever. So yeah, you are, I'd say 20% is a significant percentage of the NHS that's
yeah,
non-UK national.
and also the British nationals that are doing the NHS are actually like black and brown people. Just to let you know, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
puts a lot more numbers on it.
Should we do percentage of
you know,
non-whites in the NHS? So it says black and minority ethnic staff accounted for 26.4% of the workforce, of the NHS workforce in England. And that's black and minority ethnic. So I don't think that would include Polish people, Ukrainians, other
exactly.
Eastern
Yeah,
European,
if you
Romanians,
Polish and Romanians, that would be even more. Just put
non-Brit,
non-English white.
Non-white British. I don't know if it
Yeah,
will give me this stat.
non-British white.
Yeah, non-white British.
Non-native British. Yeah.
Ethnic minority, it's saying again 26.4%, but again it's characterizing them as black and ethnic minority.
Yeah, but the place I work, there's a lot of Eastern Europeans. So if you add them, that would be even more.
Yeah. I don't know. Do Eastern Europeans characterize themselves as a minority ethnic group? I feel like they wouldn't.
Yes, they are characterized because I
But
remember
like, if they fill
when
out a form and say Polish heritage, like, would they get characterized as a black
yes,
and
they
ethnic
do.
minority? Okay,
Yes, they do because I remember when the COVID was going on, the ethnic minorities had to be helped out with a certain thing,
I
and the
remember
Polish
this.
and
Yeah,
are part of it. Yeah,
yeah, I remember
yeah.
Polish people saying like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna jump on," but maybe they jump on it when it's convenient because anybody would jump on it. But I think you're making a good point. It's fair to say that probably I'd say let's say at least a third of the NHS is a black or minority ethnic group. So but again, the only thing I'm a bit hesitant on in terms of being convinced is I really think that having far less people in the country would change so many other things that I think it would actually incentivize natives to work. Because I think that one of the reasons why a lot of natives don't work is because they feel disenfranchised with the state of the country, and because the working for their country is not, they've had generations of having this social disenfranchisement where it seems like their state is kind of against them. You have a lot of rhetoric that makes them seem like their heritage is wrong and evil, and there's a lot of rhetoric around, them being racist or whatever, and also just the economic deprivation where it's more beneficial for a lot of people to be on benefits than to actually work. So a lot of those people, I don't think they're necessarily opposed to the idea of working, but it's more beneficial for them, and it may be even more psychologically appeasing for them to not work. But in a situation where they feel as though, yeah, there's a significant economic incentive now, the wages are higher, the public sector is performing better. Maybe, do you not think maybe then they would be more incentivized to work?
You know what? The NHS pay, bro. Yeah, it is actually bloody good. The NHS pay. Let me tell you the NHS payment.
Sure.
Okay, on a weekday, Monday to Friday, it's roughly £14. Okay, £14. Yeah.
Yeah.
On a Saturday, it's £19 an hour, and on Sunday, it's £21 an hour. And maximum NHS staff are supposed to work 37 and a half hour a week. Okay, but
Yeah.
they can add extra hours if they want. So let's say 50 hours a week with extra hours, with normal hours 37 and a half, with 13 hours extra. That's like 50 hours. Yeah. If you calculate that all together, yeah, in 4 weeks, it goes over £2,000 payment
Yeah.
without tax. After tax, 1,700. That is decent, bro.
For the UK,
That's
that's
decent.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you have partners. If you have a partners living together, even better. So that's decent.
But let me
The
play
idea that-
let me play devil's advocate for you again. Let's say you have a single mother with a partner that doesn't live with them, thereby both of them are entitled to a council house. They receive housing benefit. They receive long-term LCWRA, so long-term not fit for work. Overall, between those two, let's say parents of a child, I would argue that they would be receiving roughly the same amount as an NHS worker after tax. And remember, they don't pay tax on their government benefits. So I think for a lot of people, and even if it was slightly higher for the NHS worker, for a lot of people, the trade-off of not working is worth it because they, again, essentially don't have to do anything all day long, but they get basically the same amount as an NHS worker gets after tax.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be honest. I think the benefit system is quite too much with the way people are paid. Even in the places that you work, these people in the mental health hospital, they still get benefit, even though they're not paying nothing. So I don't agree with everything the way the benefit system works. I think that the people that get up and work, I think they deserve more earning than the ones sitting at home doing nothing. So I'm on your side with that. Yeah, I'm on your side with that, definitely.
Yeah, I'm definitely not disagreeing with you about some of the reasons why the UK might be dependent on foreign labour, but I think that those reasons aren't. I think it's quite simplistic to say simply that UK citizens don't want to work. Some would even maybe argue that could be a little bit prejudiced because I don't think that. I mean, if you look at the history of the working class in what British in the UK. Historically, they have always worked. They built the UK, they were responsible for the Industrial Revolution, which required significant amounts of factory workers. There used to not be an expanded welfare state. So it's a bit disingenuous to say, oh, it's somehow in the culture of the white British to not work. They have essentially always worked, right? It's only very recently that this culture has developed, sort of in the past 50 years, where this culture of not working and being dependent on the government has developed. So I think it is a reversible thing. We just have to look a bit deeper into why they're not working.
Yeah, they're not working because the benefits are there. If the government makes it tough for them, I'm not saying that everybody should be made tough because there are people who have issues. All right, I understand that, but there are other people honestly taking a mick. Okay, they're taking a mick, bro. And these people who are taking a mick, they have to be forced to go to work. Yeah,
I'm not,
They have to be forced to go to work.
May, I'm not saying benefits is the totality of the issue. I'm saying that for it necessarily, when you're talking about reasons why people don't work, necessarily there will be a cohort of the population that are not working because it's more beneficial for them to be on benefits. Not to say that they're having some kind of extravagant lifestyle, but when you're talking about the choice between filling a role as an NHS support worker, which is a quite difficult job, to earn £20,000 to £30,000, and then sitting at home and essentially getting £20,000 anyway, there will necessarily be some people that choose not to work, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I agree. I know that. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's why I said the people that don't really need benefits, they have to be forced to go to work. If not, then I'm sorry, they have to find their own ways. I mean, we all have to contribute. The only people I support is the disabled people, the single mothers, and the one that really, really, really need help. But the ones that don't need it, I'm sorry, bro, they have to go and work. Yeah, I agree with you. That's the reason why they're sitting at home doing nothing, and they drink alcohol, they party, they do all the illicit stuff. You know what I mean? So
Again,
that's nonsense, bro.
I don't want to indulge too tough in, stereotypes against the white British, because remember, the white British are actually
It's not.
among the
It's not.
most
It's not.
disenfranchised groups
It's
in
not just,
society.
bro. It's not. It's not just the white British. It's the foreigners as well. Some of
Okay.
them do these things. I've seen that. I'm talking about anyone in the UK, not just English. Anyone in the UK that has no good reasons to be on benefit, they should be forced to go to work. I don't care what skin color or what ethnicity you are. Go and work and contribute to the economy. Simple as that.
Would you say you're a bit more of a capitalist than a socialist?
I'll, phew. You know what? I'm actually in favor of communism a little
Jesus!
bit more.
That's why you want people to be forced to work. You literally mean forced, like at gunpoint.
No. Let me tell you why I like a little bit communism, because communism basically comes from the word community, you know, and everybody has to work together and basically help each other based on their needs. Do you know the NHS is a communist? Do you know that the NHS is a communist?
Yeah, that's why it sucks.
Bro, the NHS is good, bro. Let's say one of your friends or family members is critically unwell, yeah? They will get treated for free. That's why we pay for it. We pay extra tax and all these things. NHS is actually good, bro.
It's
one of the
good
best
when
things in
you're
the
that
UK.
individual, but there are other individuals who it's not so good for. Overall, I think the system should be reformed. But I think what we should do is let's speak again another time. Did you live up to your name, logical analyst? I give you 80%. That's pretty good because I'm a cynical motherfucker, right? I give you 80%. You did well, man. All right.
Thank
Take care
you,
of
man. I
yourself, yeah.
appreciate it. It's been a good conversation. Take care,
Now
man.
speaking,
Have a good day.
You
Bye-bye.
raise great points. Yeah. I'd say that's a logical analyst. Okay, let's see what CBD expert has to say. Let's get some of the comments as well. Him at home says multiculturalism has been a calamity for this country and its native people. We will deconstruct it. Is it really multiculturalism, or is it something else? Is it the cultural incompatibility? Because there are a lot of multicultural countries. I don't think people realize that probably more countries are multicultural than not. Many South American and Central American countries are multicultural. The United States is multicultural. The countries of Western Europe are somewhat multicultural, definitely more European culture. But if you look at UK, you're talking about an amalgamation of German, French culture, Scandinavian culture.
But we all take a shit. We're
Sorry,
all
go
the
on.
same. We all take a shit. We're all the same.
I actually don't shit, mate. my
Yeah, but
my feces just
realistic-
teleports out of my bowel.
Look, we all just need to learn to kind of get along and work together and make Britain better.
So you don't think that multiculturalism is an issue? Because someone in the comments was saying that multiculturalism is the issue.
Yes and no. So I work, as you can see, in quite a controversial industry, right?
Controversial how?
So being the CBD expert, right?
Okay.
Right now, put that in context. The CBD industry is basically dominated by Indians, right? I am white British, so put me into that pool and get the Indians to accept me was a very difficult thing because they want to trade with their same cultures.
CBD?
They do things in a certain way.
CBD? Are you suggesting that? Because some may say that you're suggesting that Indians practice nepotism to a greater extent than other. Is that?
Potentially, yes, but I'm accepted into that group of individuals because now I'm trusted. Okay? But the first year was quite difficult. I have an Indian business partner who's one of my closest friends. We went to the same boarding school together, which was multicultural. Five of my friends in a very expensive boarding school were black. Yeah? And this was in Scotland. Okay? In the 90s. Okay? Black people in Scotland in the 90s, there wasn't any. Okay, you go to London. You go to London now. It's multicultural.
I mean, my
I
dad
don't
lived in
judge.
Scotland when he was in like the 70s, and he's blacker than black. He's blacker than this
Yeah,
microphone.
no, but I get that. But he was a minority,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah, but then why do people judge all the time? I don't get it. I really don't, because it doesn't help you move forward.
Well, let's examine what you're saying, and we can even use that as an example. So you're suggesting that perhaps the people that you work with indulge in perhaps cultural practices that may be antithetical to the typically held principles in a free society, such that they practice ethnic nepotism. Would that be fair to say? So do you not think that maybe people may have an issue with living in a native country among people that are practicing ethnic nepotism, especially when they've allowed those people to come and enter into the society and live among them?
But that's like saying that if you come to England, you have to speak perfect English, or you're not allowed to, or you're not allowed to live here.
It would help.
Yeah, no, but and then you walk down the street in London and you hear 5 or 6 different languages and this, that, and the other. Is London a bad place?
No, I'm not saying everybody has to be the same. I'm playing devil's advocate, and because you're saying you don't understand why anyone would have an issue with multiculturalism, but you yourself has just suggested something that could pose an issue for a native whereby they are now experiencing difficulty engaging in commerce because of nepotism, ethnic nepotism.
Yeah, no, but this happens all the time. I mean, when I tried to get on live earlier, you were talking about taxations and single mums and benefits and things like that, right? I would be classifying myself as unique. You know, I got married at 19. I bought my first flat when I was 20. Yeah, I have a 27-year-old son. I am 47.
That's fair,
Okay.
but your experience doesn't preclude others from having experiences with multiculturalism that are.
But my experience and my drive and this, that, and the other, and because where I am today is because of hard work. You know, you say about benefits, right? A single mum. Why is that person a single mum? You know, if that person is a single mum because their husband fought in Afghanistan, then she should be paid by the armed forces to support herself and her family going forward, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. But if she's a single mum by choice, because she got herself pregnant at 14 when she was at a nightclub, when she was actually going on a fake ID, why should we pay for her?
Well, I think you've raised kind of a separate issue where you start talking about who should be receiving benefits. I'm not necessarily saying certain people should receive benefits and certain people shouldn't. I was just making the point that when there is people dependent on benefits, some of them will be in a better position if they remain on benefits than if they choose to go and work. But again, just to circle back a little bit to the question I was actually asking you about multiculturalism, do you not think that some people have legitimate criticisms of a multicultural society?
Massively, because racism has been taught by people born in the sort of 1940s, 1950s.
Come on, having criticisms of multiculturalism
it's trickled down.
So having criticisms of multiculturalism makes somebody a racist? That's, come on. Really?
Okay, right. So if I'm interviewing, right, and 3 different cultures walk in, which culture is going to sell more CBD than the other?
Which culture is going to sell more CBD? I mean, I don't think you can determine that just by somebody's culture unless you have a significant experience seeing one culture being prosperous in your particular field.
Yeah, but this is the point. I mean, people judge people by the way they look, by the way they behave, this, that, and the other, don't they?
Yes, but that doesn't necessarily make them racist. Racism is the belief in the superiority of a race over another. Everybody is prejudiced to some extent. Everybody has stereotypes, and some people like me, they just want to watch the world burn, and they just have smoke for everybody.
Yeah, I know, I get
but I'm
that,
saying
but
I'm saying like that doesn't make you a racist. Like making a joke about like, a long nosed penny grubbing
if you say
juice
that,
or
that,
like a big lipped jungle bunny. Like,
No,
I'm just saying,
it does
like making a joke.
It does make you a racist, though, when you talk about the NHS jobs and things like that,
How?
where people of the lower order or different race are cleaning the toilets in the hospitals and things like that.
I don't think that makes you a racist to describe the fact that certain jobs are more populated by non-native.
Well,
British
they should
people.
make the white. They should.
How is that racist?
Call me a racist. I'm white British, right? Make the white people that are not working go and clean the toilets then.
I don't think that
Otherwise
they're
don't
just
pay-
saying,
otherwise
right,
don't give
heal
them any
this
money.
colour, go and clean the toilets.
But you know what I mean. I'm playing devil's advocate against what was said earlier on the basis that if you can and you are able to work, go and do it. If that job is something that is beneath you, tough shit. Get on with it, or get no money.
I see what you're saying, but you have to. I think it's important to recognize that human behavior is more complex than someone simply saying, I don't want to work, this job is beneath me. This is the point I was raising to the previous guy, which is that there are more factors around why a person doesn't want to work, won't necessarily work. And one of the factors I raise is that it's more financially beneficial for some people to be on benefits than to work. That's not necessarily them being prejudiced and thinking, oh, a support worker job is beneath me. If put it this way, right? If being on benefits you earn like £12,000 a year and being a support worker you earn £40,000 a year, I think a lot more people would choose to be a support worker and get off benefits. Do you not think? It's because they earn a significant amount being on benefits, such that it doesn't even make sense for them to work.
Yeah, but what about your sense of pride, your sense of example, and your sense of getting up in the morning and doing something?
Well, human social dynamics would have it such that not everybody has the same principles. We're being descriptive of human behavior, not prescriptive. You can't prescribe your work ethic onto everybody. We can only describe how people typically tend to behave, and people are typically driven by incentives.
Okay, so if a mum and dad doesn't work and claims benefits, does that mean that their children are going to follow suit because they've seen that life, and the mum and the dad then teach their children the system to then stay in that bubble? Would that child not be better trying to educate themselves and get out of that scenario and go for the 40 grand job like you've just said?
Yes, and statistically, there is that level of generational dependence on the state, as we kind of touched on before. But I'm not making a moral judgment on them. I'm just making a descriptive judgment about reasons why more people would remain bound in that system of government dependence. It's not necessarily based on racism. It's not necessarily based on them being lazy. It's based on numerous other factors that make it more beneficial to not work. And I think your argument about them just viewing support work jobs as beneath them, I don't think that's well evidenced. I think because historically, I mean, British people used to put their kids down the mines and stuff like that. I don't think that there's necessarily a culture in Britain of them just saying, oh, this job is beneath me. That Britain was built by people, the white working class primarily, and I don't think they saw any job as beneath them for the past 1,000 years until very recently when the government dependence and the welfare state came about. Now you're seeing the culture of government dependence. But so to argue that it's just a cultural thing and it's just based on people's decisions,
but is that
it's not really.
But is that not because the generations today, from being born sort of 2000 onwards, is people are going, okay, well, what's in it for me? Before I even get out of bed, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
What do I get out of today? So if I go and clean a toilet, if you're going to pay me £18 an hour, I might do it on a Sunday instead of going to the pub. But if that £18 an hour isn't enough and people on benefits are getting more, that's when that's when the entire country should have a problem.
Yeah, and just a bit more on incentives. When something is not considered worth the while of a British citizen, again, it's probably not based on race. It's more based on the fact that if you're coming from like the Congo or Nigeria, even something that would not be considered worth the while of a British person, just based on financial incentive, would probably be more likely to be considered worth the while of somebody coming from a less developed country. So yeah, again, I don't think it's necessarily a racial thing. I think it's just about economic incentives.
No, but I spent 2 months in Kenya. Okay.
Yeah.
A month on safari and a month in a five-star hotel, just in Shelley Beach, Mombasa. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'm telling you this because when I went to the beach, right, there were security guards hitting the locals and stopping them climbing over the wall to sell their products to the people in the five-star hotel. Right? It was horrific. So me as an entrepreneur, Ariel, found a guy sitting on the beach with all his sort of soapstone stuff and this, that, and the other. I said, can I get something for you? And he was smoking a little bit of reefer. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, can I get some of that? And he said, I'll take your. He said, I'll trade you for your shoes. So I took my Vans off, which were quite old, and this, that, and the other. And he left with a great big smile on his face because he got a pair of Van shoes. And I don't know how much he paid for the reefer, but at the end of the day, everybody's happy, right? But we're from two different worlds.
Right. So yeah. So basically, the incentive for someone like that to come and live in the UK and work in the NHS for a wage that is roughly similar to what somebody gets on benefits, obviously, you can see that, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be about people who are white British not wanting to work jobs because they think they're beneath them. It can clearly, as you've just explained, it can clearly just be about economic incentives, right?
I agree, but I do believe that a lot of people are using culture, race, and all of that sort of things as an excuse or a weapon or a drama scenario.
Yes, there will undoubtedly be people that are cloaking xenophobia in arguments about why multiculturalism's failed and stuff. But the more social issues that crop up, the more of those people there will be. So instead of just criticizing those people, I think we need to address the core of the social issues. And in reality, when your government is importing hundreds of thousands of people legally into the country against the will of the population, that is really the cause. I don't think you can necessarily... I mean, yes, if a person is xenophobic, then maybe that's just the way they view the world, or maybe they're small-minded, or maybe they've had personal experience. I don't really care to examine why a person chooses to be xenophobic. But the thing is, they would be less likely to think like that if the government wasn't importing 500,000 people a year.
Okay, but when I went to Australia, I had to show that I had £2,000 in my bank account, and they asked me how long I was staying, why I was there, and this, that, and the other, right? We should do exactly the same. If you don't have money, you shouldn't be allowed to come to the UK.
Okay, so, I mean, based on that, you can see why people would have an issue with loads of people coming that end up being state dependents. Reece says 1.2 million a year, actually. Well, it's net 500k, isn't it? It was like 1.2 million, 700k.
But if we adopt that approach like the Australians do, right? You would have lots of people from different backgrounds complaining that we are infringing on people's human rights. Would we not?
Yeah, I'm sure.
But then the only way to fix things is financial, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a little bit like these people. I couldn't believe it when I heard that the people that were being deported got a financial incentive, right, given to them on a plane. I think they got $2,000 or something, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
Right, so basically, some of the people that got deported got $2,000, and the reason why they got the 2,000 was they signed a form to say that they weren't going to come back and all the rest of it. So it was a legal document, basically. So it's bribery, which is also corrupt, which is then against which is then against culture, and the
I don't
British
really,
government.
I don't
just
really
did that.
understand the point. I mean, I've tried to oblige many of your points, but some of them flip flop and some of them are a bit confusing or off topic. I'm just a bit confused what you're kind of talking about right now.
Okay, so I'm talking about people that are being deported, sent home,
Yeah.
and being given money to stay away,
How's that corrupt?
because that person potentially may have a legitimate reason to be in our country,
But they chose to
but
leave.
because they've accepted a bribe, they now can't come back.
They chose that.
Yeah, of course. So the people that chose to come on the boats, yeah, they're choosing to come to the UK for a better life, for a better life, right?
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the right to stay in the country.
Exactly. So we do not want them. So we do not accept them. Okay. So therefore, there should be a proper border in place to sort of say, thanks, but no thanks. You're not coming in. End of conversation.
But weren't you just saying that people who suggest that certain jobs in the NHS are for certain races of people are like I don't understand. You've completely flipped your position in a way. Like you were kind of defending non-white immigration, and now you're suggesting that irrespective of people's race, they shouldn't be allowed in the country if they're not a net benefit. But that's the argument that people are making that you misrepresented as being racist.
If it's economic, if we're talking about economics and money and all the rest of it, it's impossible for the UK to sustain in the way it's doing at the moment because of the influx of immigration, right? So each and every one of those individuals on the boats should be sent back straight away unless they have a trade or they have money or they have a 5-year plan, if you like, that they're not going to cost the government any money. It is the fact, isn't it?
Okay, so you don't believe in asylum?
Yes and no. I would say this is a sore subject for me actually, because my wife, right, she's a school teacher, right? Now, the Ukrainians all came to live with families, right?
Yeah.
So she then had to teach Ukrainian kids. Okay. That when she dropped a book or what have you, one of the Ukrainian kids hid under the desk because he thought it was a bomb. Right, his dad was fighting over in Ukraine, but the mum's going out for lunch and this, that, and the other with the rich family, living the life of luxury. Is that asylum?
No, not well. Yes, in a sense, because if they were granted, I don't think the Ukrainians got asylum. I think they had a particular scheme that allowed them to stay. But I don't get the point you're making.
Well, because some of those Ukrainians are now are still here and
Right.
working.
They got granted. I think they got leave to remain. Right.
So in terms of people coming into the country when they're facing turmoil, yeah, you've got to. It's a human right, isn't it?
Okay.
To protect your women and children.
Okay.
But
So-
women and children aren't coming over in the boats.
But
men.
no, but you said I was responding to your point because you said that if they can't show the financials that would allow them to support themselves, that they shouldn't be let in the country. So that is in direct contradiction of the idea of asylum, because you're making it about their finances.
From a Ukrainian point of view, no, because the British families were the ones that put up the cash. If you think about it, they gave them a roof over their heads. They fed the children.
So you're
children,
saying
this, that, the other.
you're saying part of their financials could be if a family in the UK is willing to support them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're coming over to the UK and you can sustain yourself, you might be, I don't know, you might live in Kenya and you might become a nanny to a rich family in London, for example?
We've come full circle. We're back to colonialism. So basically, import people from other countries that are less economically developed. If they can't show the financials to support themselves, let them essentially be adopted by a family and labor for that family while the family takes care of their economic situation. Yes, guys, we're back. I can't believe it. After 1,000 years, or not even 1,000, what? After 300 years, we're all the way back
my
to...
my example there about the nanny. Do you know how much a nanny in a London house earns?
How much a nanny in a London house earns?
Yeah.
I don't know.
100,000 a year. 100,000 a year.
What?
Yeah. 100,000 a year is a nanny that's working for a family in Notting Hill right now.
Mate, sign me up. Where can I become a nanny?
No, but my point there is you go colonialism, slavery, blah blah blah. But that's actually not the case in this scenario.
No. I was being tongue in cheek, but your example isn't a representative of what I was saying, because you said that if they can't show the financials, or you inferred that if they can't show the financials themselves, that they could depend upon another British family to take care of their financials, thereby being financially dependent on a family that is letting them live with them. So essentially they would be a ward of that family, and that's why I made the tongue-in-cheek joke about them essentially being some kind of colonial maid.
Sure. This is an interesting chat, man.
Yes.
I'm enjoying this. It's fun.
Yes, but I am going to have to drop you down because we have some people that are waiting to come up, and I appreciate you coming up to speak. I think some of your positions you might want to crystallize them a little bit more, but that's just my perspective. But yeah, nice speaking to you.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I literally I retired at 37 from the city, being a corporate insurance broker in the London market, and now I just walk the dog and sell CBD.
And you use CBD as well, and you're using THC and CBD.
No. Not at all, my friend. Listen, lovely to talk to you. Yeah. Have a good one, yeah?
All right, nice speaking.
Cheers, man.
All right. A fucking problem. I bet you this guy's a Scouser. A fucking problem. Oh, he didn't connect. I hate when that happens. I really think TikTok needs to sort that out, where it makes you think you have a guest, and then when you try and connect them, they end up not being a guest. We've got 54 people in the live, guys. Tap the screen to like the live. What is the real cause of the UK's issues? These lives will be available on YouTube. At State of Deception is a YouTube channel, all one word, and also on Facebook. So on Facebook, we are just my name, Amma Maduwako. Right. I'm starting to feel a bit under the weather again. So let's okay, we'll get a final guest on, and then I think I'm gonna wrap it up then.
Right.
What's up, Odge?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, man.
So the question today is, what is the real cause of the UK's issues?
Well, in my opinion, it has to be...
Okay. Pyron says rich people trying to divide and conquer, making the working people hate each other. Yeah. But they do that everywhere, so what is causing the economic decline that we're seeing in the UK? Because when everyone gets turned against each other, in a functioning economy, they should still be able to be prosperous and not have to depend on the government. Reese says the rich people being Jays. So if the rich people were non-Jays, you don't think they would do similar shit? Like, imagine, like, okay, we see what Zio, like, billionaires do, right? Imagine if we just had, like, a bunch of Indian billionaires, or a bunch of, like, black billionaires, or a bunch of white billionaires. They would do the unique thing that race does that pisses everyone else off to the max. So, you know, I for one appreciate our Jewish billionaire overlords. But if they were, no, I'm just joking. But obviously, my point is, if they were black billionaires, white billionaires, Chinese billionaires, I'm sure there would be shit that they just do that pisses everyone off. Although the Jewish billionaires they are particularly creative with coming up with bullshit that pisses everyone off. and funding bullshit that pisses everyone off. I'll give them that. They are particularly creative at doing it. Like, who's that Jewish transgender woman that's funding all of the like transgender like stuff with the children? Like only like a Zio billionaire could come up with that. Reese Walking says, do you know Reese Talking? Yeah, I know Reese. I spoke to him a couple times. Yes, entering the UK in a small boat is illegal under British law. Actually, it's not. It cannot even be illegal under British law. In fact, the whole purpose of a passport is to allow people to traverse the seas and receive support from other nations in their travels. That's the whole point of your passport. If you actually pull out your passport, it says something to the same effect. It says something like, this passport grants the bearer that... Let me see what the text in the passport is. Hold on. Text in the passport. It says like... Okay, it doesn't have the exact text, but it says, UK passport contains a standard text request on page 8 from His Majesty Secretary of State asking authorities to allow the bearer to pass freely without hindrance and provide necessary assistance. So yes, in fact, it is not illegal to use a boat to enter a country. And in fact, you're actually supposed to be assisted by that country on your travels. So, Plate says Google it. Okay, I'll Google it. Is it illegal to enter the UK by boat? Under existing British law, it's illegal to enter the country without a visa or special permission. That means someone who reaches the UK on a small boat could face up to 4 years in prison. But people who make the Channel crossing are protected by international law if they claim asylum once they arrive. So you are right in a sense. But obviously if they just claim asylum, then it is legal. And the reason why I brought up what the passport says is because the passport text is based on maritime law. So that's what they're referring to when they say international law. That's what international law is based on, maritime law. So when I said about it not being illegal, even if the UK government says this, that and the third, it's a principle of the UK as a nation state to abide by the maritime law. That's why they have a clause that allows you to claim asylum. So, you know, technically speaking, you are right in the sense that if you don't claim asylum, it would be illegal. But if you do claim asylum, then it's not illegal. So, therefore, you can't say that it's simply illegal because if a person claims asylum, then it's not illegal, right? Henry says, Amma, you don't know what you're talking about. Please stop. Okay, well, you come on and you tell me what I've said that's wrong. That would be great. Should we request for you to come on? I guess I was incorrect in the sense of they would have to claim asylum. So I'll concede that I was incorrect about that. But it's not really about how you come, because you said it's illegal to enter by boat. It's not actually illegal to enter by boat. It says it's illegal to enter without visa or special commission or without claiming asylum. And obviously the people that come by boat, they claim asylum, right? So they're not entering the country illegally. Unicorns are real says, I'm all for families and women / children claiming asylum, but majority of asylum seekers are grown men. What is with the sexism against men? Like, they're like, it's bad because they're men. Like, what's wrong with being a man, bruh? They're like, women and children, that's okay. You guys just want more exotic beanies. You want more exotic women. But you're like, men? Why are you trying to deprive the women of the country of the exotic third leg? But you guys want the exotic punani. Blake says, wait, hold on, let me scroll up on this. He said, Amma, you're a decent guy, open to look into it, but I respect you looking it up. Yeah, man, I'm wrong sometimes on here. Not often. But I actually didn't know about this law. It's illegal to enter the country without a visa or special permission. Let me see what that actual law is, because I've only seen that on the Channel 4 website. So it would be good to know what. Is it this, the Illegal Migration Act? The illegal migration bills was first proposed. It says it became law. Okay, it changed the law so that people who arrive in the UK by irregular routes, such as small boat crossings, cannot make a claim for asylum or protection. The law states that these people will be indefinitely detained and eventually removed from the UK. So I guess I'm even more wrong because I didn't know about this act. Should we look up this act? Plates is taking W's right now. This is as of 2023. I did not know about this. Legal Migration Act is a law that prevents individuals arriving in the UK through unauthorized routes from claiming asylum. So why are people talking about the small boats then if the people are theoretically getting removed? The act mandates their prompt removal to their country of origin or safe third country. It also aims to deter illegal migration by breaking the business model of people smugglers and making modern slavery protections unavailable to those subject to the act. I wholeheartedly stand corrected. Inadmissible claims. Asylum and human rights claims made by individuals arriving in breach are generally inadmissible. So are all the people arriving by small boats then, are they not just getting sent back? Why are people even complaining about illegal migration then? And people going into hotels? Is it... Oh, do you know what I think it might be, Plates? I think it might be that when the people come and then they... I think they use... Human Rights Act to say that they are at risk of persecution. So I think what it could be is that they stay in the hotel and they say, I'm at risk of persecution in my home country, so I can't be sent back. So maybe that's what it is as to why they're still able to come into the country. Because I don't think that they're immediately removed. Maybe you could come on and speak more about it and clarify. Let's see what Chris has got to say. I thought it was going to end live now, but we got some people raising some interesting points. What's up, Chris?
I just want to ask something because you might know about this, you know? So they pass so many other countries. They pass France, they pass what other countries? Belgium, I think. They pass so many other countries and they go to UK. Why UK?
Probably
The boat,
because
they
they
pass-
probably because they want to be in an English-speaking country with more benefits and more, economic prosperity.
Probably, but doesn't really make sense.
They're like economic migrants, aren't they? Mostly.
I mean, they still don't know English. Most of them don't know English. So what's the difference to go in a less immigrated?
I mean,
country,
I've never crossed into the UK on a small boat. You'd have to ask them why they in particular choose the UK. I'm sure there's some incentive in the UK that's driving them coming to the UK.
I suppose. Also, I think it's the government is being influenced by something. Now, may I see the juice? Or maybe.
May I say the juice?
Yeah. Apple juice.
Is that what you think it is?
Not all of it, but some. At least some of it, yeah, for sure.
Reese, are you Reese talking on a burner account? May I say the juice?
I mean, I don't think I can really say it.
I mean, you can say it. But, yeah, a lot of people do think that a lot of this stuff is being funded by billionaires of a certain persuasion.
It's not fully only the Jews, but it's a big amount of it that is causing the issue.
Do you not think that it's primarily the fact that you can come from a country that's less developed and then come and live in the UK and get benefits? Well, I don't know if they necessarily get benefits, but coming into the UK provides significant advantages. Even if Jews weren't so-called funding that, I think people would still be trying to come to the UK. Do you not think?
Yeah, of course, but not at this scale, you know. This scale is just crazy.
What do you think the incentive is for them to fund stuff like that?
It's a tactic, you know. They want to overthrow the UK.
How do they overthrow the UK? By importing primarily Muslim people into the country?
Because there's riots right now going on about this. The country is split up. Some want them, some don't. So it's really split up right now.
But banks already have control of the UK. Well, I'm not. I'm just playing devil's advocate, by the way. I've heard these arguments you're making before, but I'm saying, what if they already control the UK in a way? Why would they need to do all this to control it further? Speak on that.
I don't really know, but I think they just want to kind of spread the propaganda in some way. Like they they don't allow pro-Palestinian things right now. They don't really allow it. You can't go out with a sign and say, "I support Israel, Palestine." You can't do that. I think you're gonna be charged as a terrorist.
Plates, you haven't been muted. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. But some would say you are anti-systemic.
Uh, Me?
No, not. I wouldn't say it. Some would say.
No, I don't. I'm anti-Zionist, yeah, of course, but I'm not that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen evidence to suggest that what you're saying is true. Antiseptic, sorry, I used the wrong word. Antiseptic, yeah.
By the way, I don't really know what that fully means. I've heard it somewhere, the meaning, but I can't really fully remember right now. Can you tell me what
It
fully
means like people who criticize Jewish people because they don't really like
Oh
it.
no
and
no
they
no no
criticize
no! I'm not like that. I don't hate the random Jew person that I see. I don't hate them, but I hate the big people of the Jewish community. You know what I mean?
it. Yeah.
The big person who bought TikTok, the big banker. Those people.
You think they're trying to cause dissent in society for some greater agenda?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not some kind of political mastermind to know what the Jews are thinking, but hey, it's they're most likely a cause to what's happening right now. Not the full cause, but yeah.
Okay. Well,
Do you sort of agree?
do you think that that's the cause of the UK's issues? Is Zio billionaires?
It's one of the cause. I mean, the country is split up for Zionism and also for immigration. Like half of the people say, "Oh, immigration is fine," and half say no. Same with Zionism.
Yeah,
Sort of.
didn't Churchill write some kind of article on this? It's called like Zionism and Bolshevism,
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Search it up.
about how the Jewish strategy kind of manifests as these two archetypical concepts: nationalism or
They
Zionism,
want them to split
and
up.
Bolshevism, social Marxism, essentially. So yeah, they use this tactic in loads of different countries. They've used it on the United States, and I actually saw this on the horizon about how they would conflate nationalism with being pro-Zionist, and then how the anti-Muslim sentiment would increase. I do think, to be quite honest, if you want me to not even be facetious, I do think that a significant amount of UK's problems is being caused by Zionist billionaires. I do believe that, yeah.
Yeah, of course. You don't really need to be a mastermind at these things or
Yeah.
eat up all that information. I mean, even with a little bit of information, you can make that conclusion. Same as I did. I don't have the most information. I didn't read all the articles about it. It's very common knowledge.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I
yeah,
used to
it's
talk about Jews all the time, and then I would just get banned from every single platform. So now I don't do topics just specifically on that.
Right
but
now,
yeah,
I don't think there's
you
an
guys should
AI.
check out Churchill's article, Zionism versus Bolshevism.
there's not really
1920.
of an AI chatbot right now. They don't have an AI chat thing. So you can say a lot of things because they don't have the chatbot that they had because TikTok just got bought. But
Oh,
they didn't
really?
sell the algorithm. Yeah, I think so. I think they didn't sell the bot that.
Okay.
But if you get reported,
Yeah, I
what-
used to
what do
get
you
banned
think
like
is-
every day.
what do you think is another cause of the issues?
I
Because-
think the population density is the number one cause of the issues in the UK, and I also think that the way that all of the laws can just constantly be overwritten, I think that the UK should have a formal constitution. I'd say those are the two main ones. Everything else extends
Yeah.
from the number of people in the country and everyone being dependent on the same shit, and then the fact that the laws can just constantly be changed and people's rights can be taken away. by a new government, so the government can just lie and then come in and then pass a law that completely infringes on our civil liberties, and no one can do shit about it. So yeah, I'd say those are
Yeah,
two
that's
main
a
issues.
valid thing. Say, do you know Tyler Olivero? Do you know him?
Who?
Tyler Olivero. He makes YouTube
I feel like
videos.
I've seen his YouTube. He's kind of ugly. Right? He's got like a big nose, right? I think I've seen that guy.
No, not really. I don't think so. I don't remember. You
I've
can
seen
search
him.
him up on YouTube.
Yeah, he's kind of ugly, bro. I know this
He
guy.
has. Yeah. So he makes videos on such topics. You just call him ugly straight away, man.
No, I have no problem
Okay,
with
so
him.
he
I was
ma-
just trying to remember who. I mean, ugly in like
He
a
makes-
non-serious way.
I really like him. He makes. He made a video on this, and he interviewed UK people, right? And they all knew of boats coming in a certain place, and the police is not doing anything. Everyone knows in that town that he interviewed that there's a boat coming at a certain beats every time, and they're not doing anything. Why is that?
Maybe because they want loads of people to come into the UK from other countries to piss everybody off, so then there's political unrest, and then they can come and implement laws that nobody wants because there's no formal constitution to prevent them from violating people's civil liberties and God-given rights, and then they'll pass laws like digital ID and forced vaccination and stuff like that. That seems to be
also
the reason
digital
to me.
ID. Oh yeah, you just mentioned that. By the way, I saw videos on this as well. There's most likely the country will fall because of this. People will not have a digital ID. They will not support this at all.
Isn't there like 3
Most
million
of them.
signatures against digital ID? Let's search it. Digital
Yeah,
ID.
exactly. Like even if they put them out, they will protest against it. They will not make a digital ID. Most of the people, and they will. The government will get so bad if people actually protest against this.
Yeah, 2.76 million signatures do not introduce digital ID cards. We demand that the
That's 2.6 million. If the IDs come out, that's gonna be 2.6 million that will not have an ID. So again, the country is again gonna be split.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants digital ID. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Although
The
I have
country
heard a
will be
couple
split
normies
again.
say, "Oh yeah, like it is necessary to stop immigration and stuff," and I'm like, a lot of people just don't see how they get played. I think particularly, you see, people on the left, they get played, but they just think, yes, I'm being propagandized, but I'm being propagandized to be a good person. But people on the right, they don't realize that they're being propagandized. So when you tell them, like, do you not realize that the reason they're even making you talk about immigration so much is because they want you to be super against it so that they can bring in something like digital IDs. They never see how they're being propagandized. That's why I don't consider myself right-wing or left-wing, because all those are
Me too.
categories for you to get put into so that they can push ideas on you, and then you think that you're fighting the good fight, but you're just fighting for the synthesis of whatever they want to come out of the two sides battling each other.
Not only what you said from the sides, two sides. It's also down to just pick a side on this topic. Just you should be mostly with your own opinions, not or that or that. Just make it your own choice.
Do you know the funny thing is as well that pretty much the origin of the right-left paradigm actually comes from a Jewish guy. It actually comes from a concept in mystical Judaism, which is not dissimilar from what I was talking about when I was saying Zionism versus Bolshevism. But also the person who actually coined the term conservatism was Benjamin Disraeli, who was a Jewish statesman. What was Benjamin Disraeli? Was he a prime minister, or was he? Yeah, he's a former prime minister.
He
and
was
statesman.
something
Yeah,
behind the government.
yeah. So
Something
Benjamin
minister,
Disraeli was a
something
Jewish guy. He coined the term conservatism. So this whole idea of the right-left thing, it actually comes from Jews as well. But hey,
Yeah, they're all arguing which is right, far right or far left. Yeah, it just gets you to, argue and split up. By the way, also, what did I want to say? Oh yeah, now the Jews own all of the social media platforms. They basically influence all. YouTube bought a 50 million deal with the Jews. What else? TikTok is now owned by them. Instagram, Facebook. What else? Snapchat. All of them gone.
Some
Even
would say
China is
some
different.
would say that it's just, you know, what's wrong with them having Jewish owners. That's what some would say.
I mean, all of the social media platforms that we use are owned by them. I mean, again, spreading propaganda. They paid what? They pay 7,000 per video for you to spread Israeli propaganda. Do you not see that?
Sign me
Did you see
up.
that? Yeah,
I'll
me too,
spread
man.
Israeli propaganda for 7,000 per video.
I don't remember, but there was an article about this. So
You mean
I-
like
I
they
also saw-
they have citizen intelligence for Israel. They're called Sayanim. They literally like people that pretend to be citizens, but they work for Mossad. You guys should look that up.
By the way, do you know a person named Hamza who is Palestinian?
No.
He makes videos. Okay, so he made a video on Omegle. He's searching for Israeli people, and a Israeli kid comes, and Hamza says he's Palestinian, and the kid starts cursing, punching the screen, anything.
Is that the
This
red?
is like
Is that the
10
red
years
pill
old.
guy? Like the Hamza? Is that the red pill guy?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know much about him. I just saw his video, you know. But
I think
I
that
don't
is
know.
the guy.
He has glasses.
Oh, I don't know.
He has glasses on, so. So the kid was saying free Israel, and was like cursing at him. They're brainwashed. They're brainwashing their children. Why? That's crazy.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting a Jewish homeland. But I do think it's wrong when Zionist billionaires fund bullshit in other countries.
Yeah, as well, and they're also brainwashing their children, which is very bad. Very, very bad.
Well, everybody brainwashes their children, don't they?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they don't know anything, and they're saying free Israel. Free Israel from what, man?
From
Maybe from the Jews.
Islamic Jihad.
What
Because
do
the
you say?
Muslims do like terrorize Israel with like random acts of like terrorism. They do.
Yeah, but they see free Israel in a Palestinian conversation, so. Yeah.
I just want a two-state solution, but yeah. Stuart Polo Tuck says UK is run by Israel. Well, definitely conservative friends of Israel and Labour friends of Israel. I think they are the most. They're the biggest lobbying groups in the UK. So basically, both the Conservatives and Labour are Zionists. But again, you know, being friends with Israel or being a Zionist, I don't think that's inherently bad. I just think it's bad because they have a tendency to fund things that destabilize other countries. Reese says we need a one-state solution under Christ. So you believe in like theocracy, which is essentially fascism, right? Alien Dave says the real issue in the UK today is the disrespectful attitudes in society. Religious people are the worst. I
Bro,
find
I love
Christians to be
Israel.
pretty good people.
I love Israel. I just got 7,000 from them. Oh my god.
Yeah, someone from Israel, can you please contact me? I'll be the black guy that promotes Israel. I already get paid to promote the USA, so if I could get paid to promote Israel as well, that'd be like a double whammy.
You can Google it. I think there's some kind of, thing going on. The details are Google.
How
I mean, if
to
you make
get
7,000,
paid
then you can just go back on
Israel.
80.
How to get
But
paid
it's
for defending
USA only.
Israel online. Stand
Oh
with
my
us.
God.
Stand with us is an international non-partisan Israeli education organization that inspires and educates people of all ages and backgrounds. They're so good with words. We inspire
Yeah.
and educate people of all backgrounds. We push Jewish propaganda.
Yeah, they're just basically saying we spread propaganda. Yeah, that's what they're saying.
I'm trying to sign up.
They're just
How
saying
do I
it's
sign
rich
up?
words.
When lies
I
and
don't
hate
know. I
become
think-
deadly Education has the power to save lives. How will you educate yourself and the people around you?
No, that's crazy. Wait, how many followers do you need to spread the propaganda?
Oh,
Did
at
it
least
say?
10K, I'm sure. Report an anti-Semitic incident. My dog just raised his arm at a questionable angle that resembled a Nazi. What else is like an anti-Semitic incident? Somebody suggested that I'm rich. Do Hamas have a website? Oh, you want to get paid to defend Hamas? That might not go too well for you, living in the West. Stick with defending the Jews, man. Why would you want to defend Hamas anyway? They're like, everything they believe is antithetical to like British values. Okay, Chris, final thoughts? I don't know if you're still there, buddy. You're muted right now. By the way, guys, thanks for the screen taps and also for the follows. Remember, the follow button is here. That's the most important button in the live. Everyone should really be following. You can also follow us on YouTube at State of Deception,
I mean-
all one phrase.
I just want to say a final thing.
Sure.
So right now, they banned the apple juice emoji. Do you know the apple juice emoji?
The what?
The apple juice emoji. You can't say it now. Your comments gonna get flagged if you say that. It's a emoji for the juice.
The apple
I'll
juice
type it in,
emoji.
wait. Yeah, that. Yeah.
They banned it, did they?
Yeah. Oh, I think I saw a video saying if you type it, I don't know whether or not that's true, but I think if you type it in video, not in live, in video. Oh, only USA.
I don't know. Maybe. All right, I'm going to drop you down. Thank you for your contributions to the discussion, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's let Patois on because she's been waiting for a long time, and then after that, now I'm really gonna wrap it up because I need to eat and stuff. I got a couple things to do. I need to go to Udley Fresh and get some raw milk. What's up, Patois?
Hey, my love. Great live. You know, I've just passing through, but I can
Hi,
just
Us Blue.
see that I know you're starting that, but I love it, and I love that the way that you're dealing with all the controversial interactions. Anyway, I see you rubbing your eyes, so let me just quickly say this. Well, I get it. Yeah. So in terms of sorry, let me just introduce myself. I'm 6 years old, born in Britain. My parents are Jamaican, and I refer to myself as Black British, but with Jamaican from Jamaican descent, but wholeheartedly embrace Africa as a diaspora. But anyway, I just wanted to go quickly into the whole thing about the immigrants coming across by boats and then the hotels, etc. They've been put up in hotels. And I said already in your live that we're not being told the whole story. You know, there's things that we just don't know. So, in terms of why somebody said about why is it only men that are coming across, I'm going to say this that the countries where the UK has been involved in wars are as follows: Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Libya, Mali, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Ukraine, and the Yemen. And the way that UK has been involved is by training foreign nationals and foreign forces against ISIS. And I just wonder why that is, why they're coming here boldly and being put up in, I'm not going to say hotels, but in those places that have been appropriated by Serco and other kinds of security establishments. because that makes a whole lot of sense to me. Why they're accepting them, because we do not know the promises that they made to them when they were training them up as special forces against ISIS in all these countries.
So, do you think that because of what the state does, or because of what some rich, nefarious people do in terms of meddling in geopolitics, do you think that that justifies the native people of a country then having loads of people come into the country? Is it some kind of vengeance against the population?
No, no, no. On the contrary, what I'm saying is that the people that may be coming across here are those that have been trained up as part of the foreign uh, forces against ISIS, but in all those countries. And whatever discussion, I mean, this is what we need to do more research into. Whatever promises were made to them to join with the UK in terms of fighting against these, those adversary groups, we don't know what was promised to them, but they're all coming here. Like I said, Afghanistan, in Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Libya, Mali, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Ukraine, and Yemen. And that really does match some of those that are coming across on the boats. So, what was the agreement with them in terms of fighting, in with the UK? And then when the country, is on their knees, that they can come over here and they still recognized as foreign, as troops, basically.
Well, the thing is, it's obvious that people are allowed to come over. That's why loads of people still come over. The question is, should they be allowed? And if your suggestion is that because there is this interference by the UK in other countries, that means that people should be allowed to come over. I don't know if that necessarily logically follows. I mean,
No, what I'm trying to say is that we do not know the agreements that they had with those that they were training in
yeah,
those countries.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But some of
As
those,
to
yeah,
why they feel that they can come over here
yes,
like that, because it's mainly the men. So I'm saying that I
yeah.
think that they are the troops that they trained. There's no women. There's very few women
A
and
lot of them
children in
are.
this place.
A lot of them are ex-troops that were sympathetic to the UK and USA and
Right.
in Afghanistan, yeah.
Yes. And fought. Yes. So I'm just trying to explain to those that are saying, "Oh, why are they coming over? Why are we putting them up in hotels? They're not hotels. Serco has a huge contract with the British government to put these people up, and I think it's because, in a way, they're kind of like reserve troops because they've been trained by the UK."
Do you think that is good to have ex-military Afghanis come into the UK?
No, no, I do not think that it's right to have them come to UK without telling the British people what they are doing. Because, when you talk about what is the real cause of UK issues, is that they're not being transparent. And people are, we see people outside these places and are saying, what are they doing here? It's a simple question. Why can they just not say that instead of just being silent and fueling all this kind of like, rumors about who they are, what they are, and they're taking
I
this
totally
away.
agree. I think it's because they
Yeah.
want the unrest. Like, they
Yes.
want people to all be arguing so that they can start trying to use the government to present the solutions for whatever they're saying the issue is. They do this shit all the time. So,
Yeah, but the thing is I think that um, we're going through a period of unrest, and I think that people need to realize, and I think that some people have said that before, but no one's really listened to them. But I just looked it all up. That those are the UK troops as well. They are trained by the UK. And I don't know what they signed up, what paperwork they did, whatever. They are actual UK reserve soldiers because they fought for them in all those countries.
Yeah, obviously not all of them though. You know, it's still got like a lot of people that are not necessarily those people. You would imagine that those people wouldn't come on small boats as well. They'd probably be flown in by the UK military or something like that.
Oh no, I think they might have said if you get to the UK, we'll look after you. That's what I think that they said. I don't think we're going to you fly them in droves. If you can get to the UK, we will look after you. And I'm saying it is as much objective and positive way possible that they're not going to just fly them in. That would be too much. But if you can land in the UK, we will look after you.
I'm just searching something up in
Thank you.
because I want to see if maybe there's some credence to what you're saying. It's definitely a good theory. It says, so the UK set up specific resettlement schemes for Afghans. The ARAP scheme, Afghan Relocations and Assistance Policy, is meant for Afghans who directly work for UK forces, and the ACRS scheme, the Afghan Citizens Resettlement Scheme, is meant for vulnerable groups, including those who supported UK efforts indirectly, women and girls at risk. But it says access to these schemes are very limited. They've processed many applicants, but thousands are still left behind, and the scheme is painfully slow. Many eligible Afghans can't get out because there's no working UK visa office in Afghanistan.
Right.
And then it says, result, they turn to irregular routes with no safe way to apply from Afghanistan or Pakistan. Some Afghans end up making the dangerous journey through Europe and across the channel. Yeah.
Thank you, my
I think you might be right there. I think you might have won the live today. You might have won the live.
Thank you.
Where's my soundboard? Where is my soundboard? You might have won the live, right? Hold up. Before I end, I need to give you one of these. I don't even think it will... wait. My desktop audio is not connected.
In a matter... It's
Don
just
DeMarco.
But you know what? You are one of the first lives that have made all of this come out because of just the path that you were taking. So bless you, host, because it made, a lot of it made food for thought. And when I really looked into it, it's because of your live that I looked into it, and that makes more sense. These people are coming here.
That does make sense.
Because they're allowed to.
Yeah, and that would explain why even when they're coming through irregular routes, they're still being let in and being put in hotels and stuff.
Yes, that they are, UK troops. Basically, they've been trained.
Are they?
Wow,
Here's another little
right.
devil's advocate question: are they UK troops or are they potentially foreign troops that are now resident in the UK to play in maybe to some kind of some more?
Right. I think it's a bit of both. I think that they've been training UK forces, but again, I am saying that what's happening with our government is they are not being transparent because for if you were in another country, say,
Yeah.
and I'm going with the Windrush generation, if you was in another country and they said that, oh, we need these people to, join up with the UK, you'd have had to sign off something just so that they can recognise you and know who you are. But we don't have any information about that process that made them eligible to be trainees as foreign forces for the UK. We don't have that information. But they are when they come across, they are very bold in their income. They're not seeking asylum. They've just been, taken to these spaces.
It says as of 30th of June 2025, 35,706 individuals have been relocated under the ARAP and ACRS schemes combined. But then theoretically, if they came and sought asylum, then their asylum would be granted potentially under this scheme, but it might not be documented as them being granted under this scheme. I don't know. There's a lot of dodgy stuff happening in like the post Afghanistan. Did you guys see that data breach that happened was it a data breach in Afghanistan? Let me see if I can find that. There's really a lot of dodgy whatever they were doing in Afghanistan. I think that shit is way more like occult and covert than any of us could possibly understand. I've heard people say that they went here's some theories I've heard about Afghanistan. Obviously, there's the one about they wanted to go there and get the oil. Then you've got that they want to go there and control the opium and the poppy field so that they can control the drug trade. The intelligence agencies can control the drug trade. But I've even heard a theory that there's some kind of like ancient artifacts that exist in Afghanistan that are related to ancient history, and they went there to like destroy ancient artifacts. And I don't know, but yeah, check this out: dozens more UK Afghan data breaches uncovered. So Ministry of Defence have admitted there have been 49 data breaches in the past 4 years at the unit handling relocation applications from Afghans seeking safety in the UK. How crazy is that? So there's some weird ass shit going on, guys. Like, I think Patois has won the live. Like, she's making this connection, and I've seen a lot of this stuff, but I didn't even make the connection before. And I'm supposed to be like the super genius up here, right? But I didn't. But I didn't even make this connection between all the weird ass shit going on in Afghanistan, and then all these data breaches, and then the reason why there's all this unrest and all this narrative around people coming on small boats. I think you might have figured it out, mate.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so too. It's just with all the reasoning, and I'm not trying to like blow my own trumpet, but there's more that we need to be going down a different route, you know. The rabbit hole that they are trying to send us down, which is trying to split the UK and everything. Let's look at what they are doing, and that is the problem, and that is the answer to your question. What's the real cause of the UK's issues? It's what they are doing in secrecy, and that we've not been able to really get into.
Yeah, one of the major flaws of people is that they think that if they're being manipulated, that it will be easy to figure it out.
Yeah, research. That's all I'm gonna say. And I know you know that, brother. That's all you need to do. But sometimes things just snap. You know, and your life allowed me to do that. So I bless you, and I'm gonna drop. Thank you.
Take care. Okay. All right, guys. I think this was a great live. I think we actually got to a really interesting conclusion there, and I'm gonna try and like hash that out a bit more and bring that up to other people as well, because that is a really important point, that a lot of the people probably coming on small boats probably actually have been given the ability to remain through some other covert means by the UK government. And I think if we don't address that, then it will seem as though they are some kind of belligerents to the UK that are just trying to come and take advantage of the UK. But maybe it's actually the UK government's fault, because they actually told them, yeah, you guys are able to come and stay. Anyway, I haven't even had my breakfast, which tells you how devoted I am to my live stream, even though I've got like one viewer on YouTube and one viewer on Facebook. But we do well on TikTok. So if everyone can check us out on YouTube at State of Deception, all of these lives will be available. If you can watch the full live stream, 2 hours long, or you can watch the videos I'm going to chop up like a brick of cocaine and and provide on the live on the YouTube channel. If you want a more personal, intimate relationship with me, you can also follow me on Facebook, Amma Maduako. People message me on TikTok, but I find it very difficult to respond to TikTok's messages. So if you want to message me personally, my name is Amma Maduako. If you want to follow my daughter's story, you can search my name up, and you also see news stories around my daughter who was killed by the NHS. So lukewarm, you can say your opinion next time. Unfortunately, I do have to go. Because I am tired, and I also have children. I need to take care of my kids. I need to take care of my children. All right. But thank you, everyone. Appreciate you, and yeah, just follow me up. I'll be live again later today, or probably tomorrow. So peace, everyone. Take care. Okay, thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Facebook family. I appreciate you guys. I know we didn't get much views on YouTube and Facebook this time, but as I say, we are just going to be making content continuously until such point as we are a legitimate force to be reckoned with on YouTube and Facebook. All right.